Okay.
Welcome, everybody, to the July 5th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. Please silence your cell phones, pagers, and other electronic communication devices. Agendas and speaker request forms are located at the back of the chambers. The commission now utilizes speaker request forms. If you would like to speak on an item, please complete the speaker request form and locate it at the bookshelves at the back of the chambers and return to Commission Manager Holly Hennies, located on the lower right side of the dais. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order, and I would ask Ms. Hadcock to do the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Hadcock. Next is review and approval of the agenda. Is there any public comment on the agenda? Seeing none, any from the commission?
Chair, I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved by Drew, seconded by Laster to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I will take a moment to, I see we have a lot of people in the audience, and one's on Planning Commission agenda, which is we do not go into planning agenda items till after 10:30. So I just wanted to give you a little advance notice that that won't come up until after we do Board of Adjustments, and then we'll go into the Planning Commission agenda after 10:30. So just a little information on that part. And then when we do get to that, what I'd ask the members of the public is there's going to be more people coming. We'll take a break just before we go into the Board of Adjustments. That would give you time as residents to maybe elect someone to speak on behalf of several of you or one at a time. We do have several emails. I'm guessing we're going to have about 25 to 30 people. We may have to limit public comment to 2 or 3 minutes, but if you could elect somebody that would speak for you and several of you to be able to give that part, that would be very helpful. And then I'll also ask you who's all here at that point in time to stand up if you're one of those residents. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of advance notice that it'll be a while before we get to that agenda item. So thank you. With that, we will move on to our agenda, and we come up to the consent agenda, and I'll recognize Holly Haynes, the commission manager.
Good morning, Commissioners. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items: approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 20th, 2023. Number 6 is to approve the renewal of the retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine licenses for Mountain View Lodge and Cabins under Franco Hospitality and Tatanka Trading Post under Kimberly Sea Line, and to release the license upon payment of appropriate property taxes. Number 7 is to declare one Pitney Bowes Connect 3000 postage machine, asset number 06296, serial number 009942, as surplus for the purpose of disposal. And number 8 is to approve the agreement with the South Dakota Department of Transportation for the 2023 County Striping Project P007-00288, PCN 07DV, and PH000S421, PCN 07X1, as submitted by the Highway Department.
Thank you, Holly. At this time, is there any members of the public who wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? Seeing none, at this time, is there any commissioners who wish to have any item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Drews.
I'd move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Drews, seconded by Laster. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now this brings us up to regular agenda items. Item number 9. And this is from the USDA Forest Service Buffalo Gap National Grasslands, proposed permanent prairie dog hunting order for public input and comment period. Is Myron here? I don't see Myron.
No.
So I'll recognize Mr. Travis Laster.
This was brought to us last meeting. We talked about it, and then if I remember correctly, we all agreed to have staff direct the resolution. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't continue to move and accept this resolution if there's not any questions about it.
Okay, is there any public discussion on this item? Any further from the commission? I'd look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, move to approve the resolution opposing the proposed permanent order prohibiting shooting and hunting of prairie dogs on 106,568.5 acres of Buffalo Gap National Grasslands in the Kanawha Basin.
Second.
Moved by Laster, seconded by Drews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Travis. At this time, we're going to bring down the screen and we'll have the Director, our Human Relations Director, Carol Bancroft, and Commission Manager Holly Hennies for a presentation on the County Administration Building 4-day compressed work week, 6-month review.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Holly Hennies, Commission Manager.
And Carol Bancroft, HR Director for Pennington County.
We are here today at the direction of the board for the 6-month review of the compressed work week in the County Administration Building. So as a reminder why this was brought forth, the Board of Commissioners, I believe it was early last year, gave directive to the department heads in regards to the challenging employment conditions that are happening across the country to think outside the box when it comes to all things employees. And as a result of a survey, this was the #1 request of the employees that came back was flexible work schedule, including a 410 work week. So this was brought to the board. As you can see, it was discussed several times publicly last year with a final vote on September 20th for implementation in January 3rd of 2023. Here's some examples of the public notifications that we did to try and reach as many citizens as possible to let them know of the change. Of course, we couldn't possibly reach everyone in the county and everyone that does business with the county, but we did our best with the different means that we had available. When we talked about this initially, this was the results of the initial public survey that was done in the Treasurer's Office and the Planning Department last year, and overwhelmingly supportive of having a closed day. From the public, this was the public survey, they were at 84% supportive of moving to that type of work week. So once we did the implementation in January of 2023, these were some of the negative comments that the commission had received. Some of them were received before the implementation and some of them were received after the implementation. And here's the positive comments that we have received, and I wanted to bring this to show you. Here's the stack of positive comments that we got from the Treasurer's Office, and here's the negative. So you can see quite the difference. 281 positive out of 310 in the survey. People love the positive. Some of the positive comments was that they love the new hours. They're able to come in before they have to go to work. They like that they can come in after they get off at 5 o'clock. And feel free to interrupt us if you guys have any questions. We'd be more than happy to answer any that you have.
So talking about as far as the employee benefits of the compressed work week, that you'll see the expanded in-person service hours for the citizens was Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 11 hours a day. And then there was service that was available outside of the standard workday hours of 8 to 5. And it provided a better quality of customer service as well as reduced employee turnover, which ensures higher skill level when providing services. So to support that the ability of our staff to work uninterrupted on a closed day, that we had the treasurer's office, for example, could manage all of the mail, and they were very quickly able to get the backlog of the mail worked so that they were staying current on that. And then the life work balance for our employees, that less travel as far as commuting time, which equates to less expense for them. The 3-day weekend also, and that's going to be supported by the comments that we did a survey with our employees, that they have more time for family and self-care and scheduling of personal appointments without missing work. So again, improved productivity for the business because they're not missing work. And then also it's just a real win for the employees. It also positioned us to trend towards being an employer of choice by being able to attract and retain employees looking for flexibility, which you've heard me talk about how important that is, that we position ourselves as an employer of choice through employee value propositions. This is one of those legs that we can stand on. And then opportunities for facility maintenance, that it does create opportunities where there's just no disruptive maintenance work being performed on those closed days. So the survey that we did, we had 495 respondents, and it helped us to understand what were the positive comments from our employees. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of the data that went along with that, that of those 495 respondents, that we had 179 said that, yes, they do participate in the flexible scheduling. We had another 116 that said if the circumstances allowed, whether it be the operations themselves or whether it be that their personal situation, that they would like to participate in those 410s. So that was a significant number of 295 of our employees that were saying that they either do participate or they would like to participate, that replied to the survey. And then as far as flexible scheduling being important to me for work-life balance, that we had an overwhelming 303 of the 495 respondents that said yes. And then there were 173 of them that were neutral on it, that they didn't think one way or another as far as whether it was important. But I think one of the things that's really key here to know and understand is of those 495 respondents, that flexible scheduling ranks as one of the top 4 benefits that our employees want. So healthcare, of course, is one of them, retirement, paid time off, and flexible scheduling with the 410 option. So I'm going to just draw out a couple of these comments that, as far as that first one, the compressed work week has benefited my quality of life. They said they weren't certain if they were going to appreciate the change, but have found it significantly impacts their energy and ability to do their job. That 3 days away makes it possible for me to have more time to do appointments, errands, chores, etc., and return to work feeling rested and refreshed. And then the last one also summarizes and captures as far as I am proud to be an employee of Pennington County. I'm encouraged by the open minds, and they said HR, but HR is a very inclusive word here because the compensation committee, as well as the commissioners and our department heads, all play a part in this. So the open minds of HR and your progressive approach to employee happiness, balance of work and life are more important now than ever before. Working remotely in the 410 schedule lend greatly to that. And as I had mentioned to you last week in our budget hearing meetings, that one of the things that we have learned is that COVID no longer is a word that you hear used as frequently in our language. However, mental health is, and the 410s really do help our employees with the 410s. So just a more data to share with you, and you've seen this already. The turnover rate, when we look at a 4-month, January through April, that if you look at the trend in the last 2 years, 2022 to 2023, that the positive downward trend for Pennington County in 2023, one of the factors could easily be the flexible scheduling among many other policy changes that have been made. So again, that forward thinking that we have as a collective group representing the HR aspect of our staff.
So community and industry impact. To our knowledge, the title companies have made adjustments. On Thursday afternoons, they send their staff back over to do research again for what they have upcoming on Fridays. No other complaints or concerns have been expressed to the Register of Deeds, to my knowledge. No known impact to the financial institutions or the court system. We're hearing that the city of Rapid City is also considering an alternative schedule and watching to see how ours goes. One thing we have found is the misperception still is out there that our hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, that employees are working a 32-hour work week, and that's simply not the truth. Employees are still working a 40-hour work week.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drew.
And not so much a question as a statement of what I have heard, and it actually impacts the Register of Deeds office. And I know that there are some that think that it'd be nice if we could operate with the 40-hour week, the 10-hour days, but adjust it so that it's open every day of the week. But simply, we do not have some of these offices that have a large enough staff in order to accommodate that. And so there's good justification for not doing it for offices like the Register of Deeds. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I took this picture Tuesday, June 6th, right before I got into work at 7 a.m. There were 52 people lined up outside waiting to come in our doors at 7 a.m. Here are 2 more pictures that we grabbed from the security cameras. Also, again, showing the line of the people that are utilizing the early open hours. The one line started to form at 6:19 a.m. and the other line started to form at 6:10 in the morning. So people are definitely here. They're waiting to take advantage of that early opening.
And Holly and Carol, just for the people out here, this is the year the new plates are issued. So a lot of people aren't able to use the kiosk because it's an additional $7.50. There's more mailing fees, so they choose to wait in line for them.
Absolutely. That is a part of it. Yes, sir. And we've had nice weather, so. So these are the door counts, and I want to give Geraldine in the commission office a big thank you. She has been helping me keep this spreadsheet updated and counting traffic off of the security cameras. And so this basically shows you how many people were in line, what time the first person got in line, and how many went straight to the treasurer's office and how many went to other departments. At the beginning of January, the random sampling, people didn't quite know that that's what our new work week was. And so you can see from January to even just June, how many people were in line waiting to go to the treasurer's office. Like Monday, June 5th, they had 37 of them that turned and went right straight to the treasurer's office and got in line and started at 6:10. 198 people came in the doors during that 7 a.m. hour. So it's quite significant how many people are utilizing that. And that was also the last day to early vote, so there was an increase in traffic on that June 5th as well. So individual operating departments, just wanted to bring some attention to some of the individual offices. Treasurer's office, they have partial staff working Monday through Thursday. They also have partial staff that works on Friday. Staff has focused solely on processing the mailed-in titles on Fridays and have been able to significantly reduce that wait time by not having that public traffic or the phone calls on that Friday. Registrations are renewed up until 6 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Title transfers, staff starts watching the line at 5 o'clock. No one's ever been turned away prior to 5:30, and transfers are completed as long as they can until that 6 p.m. as they need to get everything tied out before that state system. Lunch hours, incoming phone calls are not accepted. Staff focuses on the citizens who are in line in the building, waiting in line for service. Another additional benefit for the treasurer's office that's been a big one is they're an hour behind peer, and so the motor vehicle system can be utilized longer than what the eastern counties are that close at 4 and 5 o'clock. The system processes faster because there's not as many people in trying to utilize that system. So that's been a big benefit for them as well. And another thing I wanted to point out to everybody, the live feed camera. Still, there's a lot of people that don't know that that service is out there. You can go to the county's website and go to the treasurer's office, and you can see a live feed camera. As you can see the picture there, to make a judgment call on what the line looks like before you come in. Another, I'm a statistics nerd, so wanted to share with the board that in 2022, per the Department of Motor Vehicle, there are 261,723 vehicles that are registered in Pennington County. That staff is amazing. They are working hard. In 2022, they fielded just under 86,000 phone calls. That is craziness to me. And that's not even to mention all the phone calls that come into the other departments to say, how come I can't get through to the treasurer's office? So that number is probably definitely higher than that. One of the comments that we hear a lot is, well, I can just walk into Meade County and walk right up to the window. Well, just for example, in May, Pennington County transferred 7,788 title transfers. Meade County processed 1,690. So it's just not a apples to apples comparison when we're talking about the difference in Pennington versus Meade and the lines. So we encourage the public to absolutely check that live feed camera if they're interested before they come down. Public Defender's Office and the State's Attorney's Office, they are tied directly to the UJS, so they continue to work and staff Monday through Friday. They utilize flexible scheduling, and they, on Fridays, are open for walk-ins and by appointments and utilize a buzzer intercom system that you can see that has been installed. The Public Defender's Office is on the east side of our building on the first floor entrance. And the State's Attorney's, as you can see, is on the handicap pole up in the main entrance in the vestibule. And slight impact to the absentee voting. Just wanted to point out that absentee voting must begin no earlier and later than a specific number of days prior to elections. It's not by number of hours, so it's by days. So with that, again, today is the 6-month review now that we have completed the first 6 months of 2023 and seeking public and employee feedback. As with change, it takes time for people to get used to what is new, and Commissioner LaCroix, you pointed out exactly that this is a new license plate year. There are people that only visit our building once a year, so it's going to take time for them to get used to the new process and for everybody to have been rotated through. But final decision is up to the Board of Commissioners, but it is our recommendation to continue the 4-day work week for the County Administration Building, being open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Mr.
So
Chair.
with that, we'll answer any questions. I know there are several employees here that would like to address the board.
Thank you, Carol and Holly. With that, I'll go to the board for any questions. Mr. Laster.
Well, I don't have any questions. I just want to make a couple of statements because I've actually visited with Carol, I believe, and Holly, and kind of, I've seen a lot of positive comments about the 4-day work week. Most of it's from the staff, and I have to agree, for the staff, I've always supported a 4/10s type of work week because I think it is better for individuals. But I think I also shared with you all the negative that I've gotten is more from the public side of it. So understand that, the public is, and I see you gave some good information about your public survey, which is good to know. Maybe it's just that I'm getting a lot of the complaints from people that are out in my district because they have to drive so much further in. They didn't pay attention to the notices of the change and things of that nature, because a lot of them have complained, why are y'all closing on Friday? I can't access on Friday and things of that nature. I work a 4/10 shift too, but now I can't come in on Friday. I have to take time off to come in. So just understand that I recognize all the work that's gone into it. I do support a 4-day work week with 10-hour work shifts. But some of my hesitation, and I hope we can hear some from the public here today, is what I want to point out, that I'm still kind of on the edge of it just because of the public complaint that I've received from a lot of the public.
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Lester. Ms. Hadcock?
So I was kind of torn the same way, but with the research that was done, that's what I like. It's based on facts and information. Holly and Carol, you did a wonderful job at your presentation because it shows the facts, and the research is correct that the 4-day work week has been working for our employees and the public. The long lines, again, are at 7. I mean, they're, okay, I won't just say 7 because people are there. And again, there's reasons why they're, the license plates and other things this year that have been handing out. So bottom line is, I like research, I like facts. I had one of our planning commissioners talk to me about some of the hours and some of the things that were happening over the long lines. And I'm going to be up straight. I did not know we had the webcam. I remember hearing about it, but for some reason I had forgotten. And I told the planning commissioner that, and he's like, Debbie, I didn't know about that either. So we work in the building, and we didn't know that. So it makes a huge difference if people are looking at those webcams and seeing if it's full or if it's not full. That way if they're taking their lunchtime out or anything, they're not as mad. And he really appreciated that, and he started sending it out to a bunch of people that he knew as well. So some of it's, we don't know all the information sometimes, and even myself working in the building, I have to be reminded of these things. And then I also talk to Annette and her assistant, Laura. Is it Laura, right? Laura, before I messed your name up. And they came up with those solutions because I kept saying, what's your solution? They're like, Deb, we have a webcam and some other things that we're doing right now that are making a big difference. And it's also they're retaining some employees really well with all the work, as you see, 7,000 is a lot of titles and things doing, and that's not the only thing they do. So bottom line is, based on that research, I'm for the 4-day work week still. Plus, you already know with the employees, it's about the employees here and retention and stuff, but it's also about the public. But you also showed the public side of it too. So you didn't just show what employees like. It's what's working in the building overall. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Deb. Drews, do you have a comment?
No, nothing further.
My comment would be is some of the concerns I've heard have been from citizens, and when I press them on the question of what is it really about, it ends up being, well, your government, you should be open. And when I explain to them the understanding that this is not all about employees, it's about productivity and keeping up with the services that we provide and so forth. Some understand, most understand, some still don't understand. But I think one of the main reasons why I supported it was just for that. Was number one was the productivity of our employees, and the second part was also the flexibility for them to be able to take their time off to schedule doctor's appointments and all that other stuff. I mean, you can set a schedule so you don't have to take time off during the week, shorting the staff that's already short. So I think that's one of the biggest pluses of this. And I, just like the rest of the commissioners, I appreciate the stats and being able to show that and doing the surveys, because that really shows what's happening, that it is about both. not just one-sided. So with that, I do have two speakers who wanted to make a comment. I have no other speaker request forms from the public, but I will recognize Sabrina Green and Liz Hazzett.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Liz Hassett. I've been a Pennington County employee for a total of 13 years and a short stint at the state, but came back to work for the county. And
I'm Sabrina Green, and I'm now currently on my 5th year here with Pennington County. I've enjoyed it, so thank you.
so, as you know, you received a lot of emails, a lot of comments from county employees. Sabrina and I are here to talk kind of on behalf of everybody, so that way you don't have 15, 20 of us coming up. And so, as you know, as through the presentation, in early 2022, there was a request to department heads and employees to say, how can we as a county support you without increasing the budget, right? Hey, let's give you all pay raises. That'd be nice, but obviously we can't do that every year. And so one of the biggest things was a condensed work week, to have more of a work-life balance. And so we've experienced that. We both have support for it, and we're happy to, answer the call to come and speak on behalf of the county employees. So as you saw, there were multiple employees that couldn't be here today, because we still have to run run business as usual, and respond to the needs of the county. And so we are speaking on behalf of a lot of those emails, a lot of our personal comments, a lot of conversations that we've had amongst ourselves and other employees throughout the county. In addition, I've talked to quite a few of my friends and family about what their thoughts are about the condensed work week and how they appreciate it. And honestly, I've had a lot of people say, I wish my employer would do that as well because of that benefit and huge interest in work-life balance and that refreshment and coming back into work rejuvenated. So a lot of those emails, Sabrina and I worked together to kind of culminate some of the themes, because I know you saw them, but unless you're a really fast reader, you probably couldn't read through all of them. So we're here to speak on behalf of a lot of the county employees.
So just to kind of sum it up, most of the employees talked about the increase in employee morale and attitude, more time to focus on the task at hand, provide time for secondary employment. As you heard in previous meetings, there were employees talking about how they need supplement of income. So allowing these 410s, they're able to pick up a second job working Fridays now. So they work Friday, Saturday, maybe Sundays for some of them. A better work-life balance, leaving staff refreshed and renewed. Employees can schedule appointments without having to use leave time and be away from their daily duties. Ability to visit friends and family, both local and out of town. Time to seek additional opportunities for educational. Like Geraldine, she now, with these compressed schedules, she is now seeking a degree. So congratulations. Some have a reduced child cost, being more present and engaged with family and friends. People have time to take care of themselves, thus increasing their mental health and overall well-being. One comment that we have received lately is USA Bank now closes on Saturdays. So they are looking at employee retention benefits for their own employees, along with one of their branches is closing at 5 o'clock versus 5:30. So they're going to one branch to extend only to 5:30.
So in culmination of those, everybody is really looking at retention. We all know that when you have fewer employees doing those jobs, everybody else has to add to that. And that takes, having staff overwhelmed and they get burnt out and then you have nobody. And then what do you do? How do you respond to the needs? And so I think this work-life balance, I have seen a lot more regular faces, than in past years. Obviously being around in and out for 13 years, I've kind of seen people come and go. And I feel like you're using your willingness to be creative, your willingness to step outside the box, your willingness to approve something and pilot something is really commendable. I think other counties are looking to us as a larger county to say, how do you do this? How do you navigate all of those things that are happening in the world of the great resignation and some of those things. I think this is a really good response to that. And for one, I really appreciate your willingness to try it. And I hope you will keep it because I do enjoy it. I can go visit my friends and family. I have more time with my kiddos. I can go to baseball games and all of those things while maintaining a good work-life balance. So in end, I think the other thing is with all of the benefits changing, premiums increasing, all of those things happening out of our control, right? We have to meet the needs of those premiums, healthcare and otherwise. But we know that you can still say thank you to county employees for coming to work every day and serving the community by doing things that don't cost money. This is something that doesn't cost money. This is a thank you to saying, I appreciate you and all you do for us, as we thank you for having that decision and your willingness to think outside the box. So thank you.
Thank you, Liz and Sabrina. Appreciate it. Ms. Hadcock.
Ladies, I like the work-life balance. That's pretty awesome. That makes sense. And that's why we did it, and that's why I ended up visiting with people before, because I really wasn't on like old school. You got to work that 5 day. People are expecting that, but then the hours are still 40 hours a week. And then you start figuring out from the public and the research that's done, that's what convinced me. So between the employees and making sure the public was still taken care of with the 40 hours and the things that were happening, it became a positive for me just watching the whole process. I think it was good to review it in 6 months so also the public could understand it wasn't just about the employees. Well, you're just taking care of employees. You're not. You're making sure that you are taking care of the public from that 7 o'clock till 6 as well. So it worked out by Holly and Carol's research, which I appreciated. It also shows the public that, we made a good decision, as much as you'll still have some complaints because we're old school. Some of us, that it worked out, and I like it, the work-life balance. I like that word, so thank you, ladies.
Well, thank you. And as I said at the beginning of the meeting, we utilize speaker request forms, and I have no further speaker request forms, but I do notice Sam and another in the back of the room, and you'd spoken at past, so I'd like to give you the opportunity to speak if you want it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, ladies.
Just a reminder, we do have speaker request forms, but I seen you guys back there, so.
Since you asked me, I decided I would.
Well,
Thank you, Sam.
I want to be respectful and fair, so that's
I
why.
appreciate that. Thanks a lot. My name's Sam Benny at First American Title. I think if you look at this thing, in my opinion, it's all about the employees. And I have employees that every day would like to work 4 days a week. The one thing I don't know I know you've thought through it, but we're all taxpayers that expect to be able to come down here when we want to. I know the treasurer is open longer, lines are still longer. It just is amazing what they do. I appreciate that every day, and the Register of Deeds. But one thing, I think the licensing, and you guys hit on it, and I missed that part, but is shorter now than it was before. So you used to be able to come in from 8 to 5. I might be wrong. Now you can come in from 8 to 4, I think it is.
No, it's from six.
No, but for licensing of a vehicle. I think is that shortened in that?
No,
It's
it's,
from 7 to 6.
Okay, so the things that has caused us problems with is the new construction that Lloyd and I had talked about earlier. He'd asked some questions about it. When people start construction, they have to get a mortgage filed before they can start. So now what's happened late on a Thursday when we close, we can't get the document down here in time to get it filed. So we can't come in on Friday and file that. So somebody has to wait until Monday, or if you're closed for a holiday, they got to wait till Tuesday to actually start construction. That's the biggest thing. Plats getting filed that need to come in here on a Friday have to now wait till Monday. So things like that have affected our construction business a lot and affected our customers. That's what we're concerned about. We hear way more complaints than what are up there, I don't even bring them up because I know you guys are in favor of it. Your employees like the deal. No wonder the survey, I can't imagine one employee saying they don't like 4 days a week. But anyway, we hear a lot of complaints, like especially people like Travis was visiting about that work 4 days a week. They plan on coming up here on Friday. Wall, I'm from Wall, so I get every complaint from Wall that they walk in and they can't come to the courthouse anymore. So now they have to take a day off work to try to get up here to do stuff like that instead of coming in on Friday. Other than that, no big complaints.
Thank you, Sam.
Your staff is great. We love working with them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. I do have another speaker request form that came up, and this is from Janet Saylor.
Good morning, Commissioners. Janet Saylor, taxpayer. A statement was made that because it's a new license plate year that they can't use the kiosk. That is not true. They can use the kiosk. They don't get their license plates right away. They can use the mailing through Peer. The license plates are sent out by Peer if they use the kiosk, and they are also sent out if they do the mailing online.
I was the one that made that comment, and the follow-up on that was they didn't want to pay the mailing fee.
Right, but they, and I understand that. Sam hit on the people coming from Wall. We are open in Wall 1 day a month, and we've done that forever. So the Wall people don't even have to come to Rapid to do their stuff. They can do it right in Wall. And the statement's been made, and it was made also in an email, that we are only doing titles from 8 to 4. And I talked to Laura and I talked to Annette. That is not true. They are not doing titles from 8 to 4. They go out and they check the line to see how many people are in line because they have to run their reports before they leave at night. And they said they haven't turned anybody away. I know the staff is in favor of this, and there's a lot of places that are going to 4-day work weeks. And I think that if people want to complain and they want to say we're open 8 to 4 when that's not true, they need to be coming and talking to the commissioners so that we have their feelings directly from them and not secondhand. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Janet. With that, I have no more speaker request forms, so I'll close public comment and go to the board for either a motion or direction.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Drews.
I'd make a motion to continue a 4-day work week for the County Administration Building, being open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Second.
It's been moved by Drews and seconded by Hadcock to continue. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next, we will be going into executive session per South Dakota Code L-25-2 contractual pending litigation. I'd look for a motion to go into an executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Drews, seconded by Laster. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I'd look for a motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Moved by Drews, seconded by Laster. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, brings us to item number 12, items from the auditor. I'll recognize Cindy Moeller.
Good morning, Commissioners. Cindy Moeller, Auditor. Before you, we have the election to allocate the Forest Service state payment. This is a selection that is made every year in conjunction with the Secure Rural Schools Act, the state payment that we receive. And Scott Guffey from Weed and Pest, or Natural Resources, recommended that we continue doing what we have been doing, which is the allocation of 15%, 8 going to Title II, 7 going to Title III, and then the remaining goes to Title I, which goes to roads and schools.
So Scott's recommendation was 15% go to Secure Rural schools, and with 8% going to Title II and 7% going to Title III, and the remaining 85% to Title I?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I'd go to the commissioners with any questions or a motion.
I was gonna say all in favor.
Little ahead of the game.
Move to elect to secure Rural Schools Act statement payment and allocate 15% with 8% going to Title II, 7% going to Title III, and the remaining 85% to Title I.
Second.
Moved by Hadcock, seconded by Lassiter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Next, we come to item number 13 this is items from the ESCC Fire Administration, and I'll recognize Jerome Harvey and also Ted.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jerome Harvey, Pennington County Fire Administration. I have Ted with us from ESCC. Today we have a request as we continue to move forward the Northeast Communications Project. Currently, part of that is what we're asking for today is on the section there at Creighton. I just want to make clarification is some of the funding that we did ask for a couple years ago does also go into the tower site at Sage Creek to help make some improvements there and make the new site up at Creighton work. The site at Creighton is intended to fill, we affectionately call it the Creighton hole. I think they actually call satellite in there in a can. The only thing a cell phone does for you up there is keep time. And the intention of the site is to improve communications for not only fire, rescue, search and rescue, ambulance services, and law enforcement in an emergency. It's truly a dark hole. We're looking for communications, two-way communications, or paging, and then, of course, the county highway will be on there also. And I have Ted with me today here if there's any technical questions concerning this.
Chairman.
Ms. Hadcock.
Me, this is a no-brainer, so I'm going to make the motion to move to authorize the advertisement of Creighton Radio Tower Project with a bid opening scheduled for July 25th, 2023 at 9:15 a.m. MST. It's a well-needed tower.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve, but Ted, I'll give you an opportunity to speak on the part.
I support the motion. Thank you.
We know you're the tech guy, so it's for cell phone service and emergency management.
Actually, not cell phone service. We would be open to co-location if they approached us,
Co-location,
but this is initially just public safety.
Public safety first.
Yeah,
But
that was my point, Commissioner. There's nothing up there. That whole area, it just goes dark on you. And so
Yeah.
it's for county jurisdiction as far as the fire piece of it's really the area where we'll have a real problem with. We've had problems up there. We talked about that during the budget session, and we just need to be able to have some basic communications.
Okay.
And this is a good partnership with West River, Lyman Jones, too. I want to point out,
Okay.
County Highway had equipment on that water tower, and they need to replace that. And so it was kind of bad news when they said, please take your stuff off the tower. But then we said, well, would you work with us? And they said, yeah, if you want to put a tower up on our parcel. So they've reviewed the bid spec. They're good with everything. So they're good partners and with the county on that.
Thanks, Ted. Any further discussion? Any public comment? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next, this brings us from item number 14, items from building committee. And I'll recognize Mike Cool and construction manager Kevin Burton.
Good morning. Mike Cool, Director of Pennington County Buildings and Grounds.
Kevin Burton, Senior Construction Project Manager.
As you're aware, last year we the Pennington County executed a facility needs assessment. Through that work, we've identified what we expect the county's growing needs to be for relative to facilities over the next 20 years. Part of the discussion has evolved as we considered how this campus might grow, what properties might be available. The There had been some outreach in regard to a few different properties around the county to assist with growth. Overall, we came to the conclusion that the way we may address our needs is if we could acquire existing facilities for a reduced price to what it would cost to buy new ones these days, where we're seeing prices from $300 to well over $400 a square foot at times for new construction. As part of that process, we did identify 900 Concourse, which will be the new home for the administrative offices for Pennington County. That building is currently being designed, but basically relocating what we traditionally call our row offices from this building out to that one. Expect that to happen towards the end of 2024. As indicated, these appear to be very good opportunities right now to buy some of these facilities priced pretty well. And as indicated, cost to build new is very high right now. The needs assessment overall identified that we had a growth need of 140,000 to 169,000 square feet over a 20-year period. We have identified another property now located at 14 St. Joe that we could acquire. We have been in negotiation discussions with the owners of that building, and that would include the the parking lot east of the evidence building as part of that, which will help us address some of our growing parking needs down this site. Overall, we're expecting, with the acquisition of 9R Concourse, we view this downtown campus as becoming more like a justice center with the administrative offices relocating off to the 900 Concourse location. I guess maybe with that, I'll let Kevin give some additional details about that property.
Okay.
Kevin Burton.
Kevin Burton, Senior Construction Project Manager with B&G. As we were looking at the needs assessment and as Mike was saying, the 145 to 169,000 additional square foot that was needed, we found the 900 Concourse building, which adds 76,000 square feet to that need. We were able to get it for $92 a square foot. So as a recent comparison, we're doing a small renovation on a shelled-in space, and it came in at $260 a square foot. So that was a good buy. This property adds another 39,000 square feet to that total, giving us 115,000 square feet of that 140-some thousand square foot need. So I think as well as this county works within the square footage that they have, we wouldn't be looking for a whole lot of additional square footage beyond this point. And we were able to get that piece of property for less than $115 a square foot. The benefit of that property is it allows a permanent home for buildings and grounds. Right now, we're working out of the original jail. We're very compact and small in there. It also allows a home for the public defender's office as they move out of here to allow space for the police department and sheriff's office to move over here. It also allows that flex space that we need for transitioning from people out of this building, renovating space for the new occupants, so forth and so on with the public safety building as well. So there's a lot of transition that's happening between those buildings, and to lease space or to buy modular building or anything to house people temporarily adds another cost to it. So the building committee felt it was very cost-effective to purchase this building and move forward. So that is the recommendation that they're putting forth now, which we'll ask for a motion on our next meeting, depending on the outcome of this meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. So for clarification for people in the audience and viewing on YouTube, this is a recommendation coming from the building committee to purchase the property at, what's the address?
14 St.
14 St. Joe,
And
as recommendations from our buildings needs assessment also to meet those
yes.
needs. So this is a recommendation coming to this board, and no action will be taken
At this
until
meeting is to make everyone aware that we are
Yeah.
considering
July
this
8th to the
purchase.
July 18th meeting.
Yep.
Is there any questions from the board?
Oh.
No questions? No, any public comment? Seeing none. It's been duly noted that our intentions is to have it on the July 18th meeting, and we've heard the recommendation for the purchase of 14th St. Joe Street.
We did mention that.
And the parking lots.
This is a $5 million deal.
It's a $5 million acquisition.
Yes.
Okay. No further questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Next is items from the public. I'll read what that is. I have no speaker request forms, but we do have a lot of people in the audience, and I'll just read this. Speaker request forms are required for public comment. For this period, it's a time for members of the public to discuss and express concerns to the board and the commissioners on policies and issues affecting the county government and its functions. Action will not be taken during this time, and any issue brought forth that are not properly notified, speakers under this item will be recorded, and the minutes will be by name and interest. Sorry, folks, I forgot to bring my reader, so I'm having a hard time reading some of that stuff. But I have no speaker request forms. So next, what we do is we go into Board of Adjustments at 10:30. So what I want to do is I want to take this time, before we do that, we're going to take a short break to let staff set up for that. But I know we have plenty of audience members out there that have a specific item they would like to speak on, and specifically probably the Murphy Ranch one. What I'd recommend during this break period is meet out in the hallway. If you'd like one person to represent you all and making the same comment or belief, you can elect to do that to give them more time to speak. If you have and then I would ask the people in the audience to step up who support what that person says, or if you would like to speak specifically on an item, I would try to keep it brief. Not brief, but I want to be fair and respectful to the residents. But I also want to be fair and respectful of the time. So depending on the speaker request forms, I may have to do like a 3-minute limit. That's why I suggest a one-person speaker. But I know a lot of people have a desire to speak their piece. So when we come back, if you're one of the ones that would like to make a comment and probably not repeat what's being said, fill out a speaker request form and turn it in so I'll know which way we need to go. But it's just a recommendation. You don't have to elect one person to do it, but I'd give you a chance to speak before we come back. The item is going to be a little bit further down our agenda, so we still have probably about a half hour maybe or so before we get to it. So I just wanted to give you guys some time to talk about that before we come back. With that, I'd look for a motion to take a break.
Second.
Moved by Drews, seconded by Laster. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, welcome everybody. We're coming back into session. And next on our agenda is Board of Adjustment. So
Sure.
Mr. Drews.
I'd make a motion that we go into the Board of Adjustment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into the Board of Adjustments. Any discussion? Saying none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
We ready?
Yep, we're ready.
Good morning. Megan Talmadge, planner. Agenda item A is a request for variance application to be submitted by Greg Wilson. The applicant is requesting the Board of Commissioners direct the Planning Department to accept the applicant's variance application to allow a vacation home rental on a property less than 1 acre. Staff received a complaint that a single-family residence was being used as a vacation home rental and a violation was open. Staff met with the applicant to discuss options with him. The structure is a single bedroom recreational cabin and is on a lot size of 0.68 acre. A VHR is not allowed on a lot size less than 1 acre in accordance with Pennington County Zoning Ordinance, Section 319. Staff recommends to deny the request to direct the Planning Department to take in the variance request to allow a vacation home rental on the property less than 1 acre, as no special conditions exist.
Thanks, Megan. Is the applicant here, Craig?
He is not here.
He's not here. So with that, I would go, is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, I'd go to the commission. Do you have any questions? Mr. Drews?
So this is a fairly easy one for me because of the fact that it's less than 1 acre in size. Because I think in Pennington County, there's only one development that was ever really designed for vacation home rentals. And that was back in the early 70s, and that's Edelweiss Mountain. That may contain some that are less than 1 acre in size. Otherwise, I think we've held pretty true to following the rule that vacation rentals need to be on at least a 1 acre plus. This one's less than that, so I'm not going to support his requests.
Is there any other discussion? I go to the board for a motion.
Chair,
Mrs. Haggard.
make the motion to uphold the planning department recommendation to deny.
Second.
It's been moved by Haggard and seconded by Laster to uphold the denial from the planning department's recommendations. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Drews.
I'd move to adjourn as the Board of Adjustment and reconvene as the Board of Commissioners.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the Board of Adjustments. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we come to regular agenda items, and I'll recognize Brittany Mulcair.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Molitor, Planning Director. Item B is road naming for Randall Peregrine to name a 66-foot wide access and utility easement providing access to properties located along the proposed Panther Lane. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the road name of Panther Lane, as did the 911.
Is there any questions for Brittany? Any public comment on renaming? Seeing none, I'd look for a
Chair.
motion. Mr. Laster.
Move to approve the road name of Panther Lane.
Second.
Moved by Laster, seconded by Mr. Drews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item number C is road naming for Highway 79 LLC. Pat Hall is the agent to name an existing 66-foot wide private access easement providing access to properties located off South 79. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the road name of Fred Morris Lane, as did 911.
Any public comment? Seeing none, any from the commission?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Laster.
Move to approve the road name of Fred Morris Lane.
It's been moved by Laster,
Second.
seconded by Drews. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Megan.
Megan Talmadge, planner. Agenda item D is Comprehensive Plan Amendment CA 23-06 to change the future land use from rural residential district to low-density residential district. The applicant is Adam Weaver and Sharon Weaver, and their agent is Sarah Cheddar. This item was last heard on the June 20th, 2023 meeting, and since then, they have filed with their plat with the city of Rapid City. But we haven't seen the conditions of it yet, so staff recommends to continue this item to the August 1st Board of Commissioners meeting.
Is there any public comment? Seeing none, I go to the board.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Laster.
move to continue Comprehensive Plan Amendment CA 2306 to the 8/1/23 BOC meeting.
Moved by Lassiter,
I'll second.
seconded by Drews to continue.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drews.
Megan, is this within the 3-mile limit then? Is that where?
Yes, it's right on the edge.
Okay. I thought that was actually outside of it, but it's not.
There was a little bit of debate as to whether the portion that they were platting off was outside of it, but the edge is still within platting jurisdiction.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion to continue to the August 1st Board of Commission meeting. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E.
Agenda item E is rezone RZ 23-09. It is to rezone that same parcel from rural residential district to low density. Applicant is Adam Weaver and Sharon Weaver, and their agent is Sarah Cheddar. Staff also recommends to continue this item to the August 1st Board of Commissioners meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Hadcock,
Second.
seconded by Lassiter to continue to the August 1st, 23 meeting. Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, items F, G, and H are all at a request to be continued because one of the newspapers failed to advertise these, so that's why the request is for the continuance. So for item F, public hearing of ordinance amendment OA 23-09 for Pennington County to amend section 103 definitions of the Pennington County zoning ordinance, and the Planning Commission recommended to continue ordinance amendment OA 23-09 to the 7/18/2023 Board of Commissioners meeting.
And Brittany, this is also for item G, also the same date.
Yes,
And H.
and H.
Would the commission want to take
Let's take
F and
all
G
three.
together?
Let's take F, G, and H all together.
Yep, all same day.
I'd make the motion.
Okay.
Add second.
It's been moved to take F, G, and H all in one motion because they're going to be continued to
July 18th.
July 18th.
Sure.
Mr. Drews.
So tell us the reason again why these need to be continued.
The Pennington County Current did not advertise them in their legal advertisement in accordance with the statute. So
Okay.
that's why.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and these are all three related. Do we need to read them into record? Okay. So with that, we're taking up items F, G, and H all in one motion. They're all to be continued to the 7/18/23 Board of Commissioners meeting. Is there any public comment on that? Seeing none, I go back to the board. Any comment? Seeing none, we have a motion to continue. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now this brings us up to contested hearings. Request item I. Jason.
Morning, Commissioners. Jason Thennison, Assistant Planning Director. Agenda item I is a request to refund building permit penalty fee from Stanley Kozak. The applicant is requesting a refund of $850. The applicant did apply for a building permit on June 14th of this year after construction of a pole barn was already complete. The applicant stated that his contractor was responsible for permitting the project but failed to do so. Mr. Kozak stated that the contractor did not finish the project and he finished it himself. He has submitted a copy of the contract as evidence of his claim, and it is attached to your packet. Although the situation does not appear to have been created by Mr. Kozak, staff recommends denial as it was ultimately the property owner's responsibility to make sure he had a building permit.
Thank you, Jason. Is the applicant here today?
I don't
Jason?
believe so.
Okay, Ms. Hadcock.
Just a question. So it was built when and finished by when before you got the building permit, June 15th, Jason?
Yep, so he came in for a building permit on June 15th, I believe.
When was it finished? I mean, like, when did he build the pole barn and when was it finished?
I think he had just finished it prior to him coming in to get the building permit.
And
There was an ordinance violation opened up on it because somebody had complained that he had built a pole barn on his property without a permit.
Okay, and he decided, bottom line is, he did not finish the project, that he finished the construction himself. Does he have to have a contractor's license to do that?
Uh,
Or can you build it yourself?
Right, on his own property, he could build it himself.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh, he submitted a copy of the contract as evidence of the claim. It is attached, meaning is this the one that had the lawsuit over it?
I don't believe so. He did have the contract that stated the contractor was responsible for pulling all the permits for construction, and they just
Okay.
failed to do so.
And he didn't go look and see if the guy had, based on, he didn't finish, that he did things right before he started building?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Durs.
I would move to deny the request by Stanley Kozak to refund building permit penalty fees in the amount of $850, as he, as the property owner, did not ensure the contractor obtained a approved building permit prior to construction.
Second.
Moved and seconded to deny. Any further comment? Any public comment? Back to the board. My only comment on this was, is I agree with the motion on the floor. I read through the contract. I believe it was 2019 when it was started, or something along those lines, and he finished it. And the contract is very good, but when you're in a civil dispute over it, that's between him and his contractor. So that's my thought on it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Megan.
Agenda item J is a request to refund building permit penalty fees by Daniel Roth. The applicant is requesting to refund a building permit penalty fee in the amount of $520. Staff found the property was in violation during a site visit, and informed the applicant that he would need a building permit for his shop garage. The proper floodplain permits were pulled before the building was put up in 2021. And the property has a commercial use, so a commercial contractor has to be on the permit. The contractor is Cleary Construction, and they did not obtain their contractor's license until April 20th, 2023. But staff recommends to deny the applicant's request to refund the penalty fees for the building permit, as the applicant constructed the building before obtaining an approved building permit.
Okay, so Megan, when I read through this one of the questions I have is, this was like just similar, a contract between another business, and the business normally does it, but then didn't do it for this one. Am I correct?
I believe that Cleary still put up the building. Dan is here to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay. With that, the applicant here? Okay, please come forward, please. Daniel Roth?
Yes.
Just identify yourself for the record.
Dan Roth, owner of Black Elk Resort.
Daniel, can you explain what happened here? Because it appears to...
In all the early meetings with Cleary Building, before we discussed it and bought the building, he did say I had to obtain floodplain certificate and everything else, but he says, because we have all the plans for the building, we will get the building permit. They never did that, and I didn't find that out until planning and zoning came out and said that I was in violation, so.
So the previous item that we just discussed, do you understand
Yes.
what direction the board took?
I do. And yes, it was my fault I didn't follow up with him. And even according to Clary's information, they said that usually they won't even order a building until they have the permit, and they did anyway. So that would have kept them in check, but it fell through. And of course, the GC and the salesman that were there, he's no longer there, so I can't even
I just wanted to be clear on that, because I don't want you to think, I think it's more of a contractual.
Yes.
Chairman.
Mrs. Hycott.
In this case, I think it's a little bit different. He had a contractor. He finished the job, am I correct?
Yes.
So is it the contractor should be fined and not Dan Roth? Yes. In this case, it's hard for me to say that Dan Roth needs to figure out how a contractor works in this case. If the guy didn't finish it, of course, you're gonna find out, but he owns a resort, so, and it is just planned unit development. So for me, I'm not in agreement with finding him at this point. Like I said, it's a little bit different circumstance. There was floodplain permits that were done and other things, so he's thinking this guy's by the book. Cause he's filling out all his stuff, he's doing what he's supposed to, but he doesn't get a building permit, meaning the contractor. I don't think that's the citizen's job at that point when you have a contractor and you think that that's his job the whole way through. So, a little bit different circumstance for me.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Laster.
I do understand the different circumstance. I just, we're all responsible to make sure that things are done. In fact, most building permits, if I remember, they are the property owner's responsibility. If the builder doesn't do it, doesn't get them, it does always tend to fall on the property owner. It does set him up for an opportunity for small claims, because it's costing you more money because the contractor didn't do what they were supposed to do. I don't think it's right to put that on the taxpayer, giving him back his money whenever, we have a process going in there and it should have been done. And I know yours is different than the other one, but it's still one of those tough things that I sit there and think about it is, you would have a case against the contractor for the amount of money because he's costing you money.
Oh, and my other contractors, which was electrical and plumbing, they all went out and got their permits. So, Clary, who said they were gonna do it, I assumed they were gonna do it. Yes, my fault for not following up. I agree with that. But there again, that's just trusting a contractor is gonna do what they say they're gonna do.
And there's no way we can go after the contractor for doing it because it's not the contractor's land, it's the landowner. And I think that's the reason why it's in our statute or in our ordinance that it has to go back to the landowner.
Mr. Drew, you have any more comments before?
Let's make a motion. I've moved to deny the request by Daniel Roth to refund building permit penalty fees in the amount of $520 as the building was constructed before obtaining an approved building permit.
Second.
Moved by Drews, seconded by Laster.
Sure.
Mr. Drews.
Again, nothing at all against you, but I do think you gotta, whether the people that were there are gone now or not, I still think your argument is with Clary.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Okay,
Ms. Hadcock.
thank you.
the permits were approved on February 15, 2021 for floodplain, so I'm gonna guess he didn't think anything of it until staff came out until 23. Or staff found unpermitted on December 22. So again, when was the building, the garage shop finished, Mr. Roth?
March of 21.
That's why I'm saying that, is because he probably thought it was all done by then. He didn't go look again because it was built. He had the flood hazard permits, he had everything. He thought the permits were done on that. So again, I don't agree for that reason. It was done in 21 and wasn't found out till 22, and he didn't find out until they came out. So that tells me he wasn't trying to hide anything. He just thought it was permitted.
Thank you, Ms. Hadcock. We do have a motion on the floor. With that being said, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries with 1 no. Next, this is going to bring us to item I, the public hearing of the rezone RZ 23-08 Peak Cabin LLC, KTM Design Solutions. So with this, I'd asked
That's K.
residents if they could get together and have one speaker, and apparently that didn't work. So we, in order to be orderly and a constructive meeting, we are going to go to, many of you were here at the last meeting where we did the 2-minute speaking. We are going to go back to do that during public comment. So how this will work is we'll let staff present their the item for the applicant. And then what I'll do is I'll go to public comment, and we'll do 2 minutes time limit. And then we'll let the applicant come up and speak. and then we'll go to the board for, and at this time, during this whole time, the board can ask questions of anybody speaking, or applicant, or staff, or at that point in time. But then once we're done, we'll give each commissioner an opportunity to speak on that item. And then I'd like to have a motion on the floor. We can still have more discussion, but at least so we know where we're at. But I want to give the public comment on both sides first, and any discussion.
Chairman, it's item K.
Yeah, you said aye, but it's.
I did.
Just so everybody out there knows we're on item K. It's okay.
We're going to do item K, but then item L's on there too. But I just wanted to be clarified for that, because I've got numerous speaker request forms. Many people have been here before, and we've gotten over, I would say, 25 to 30 emails and other additional information on this. So the commission it's not the first time they've seen this, and they've worked on this. And so I just wanted to be clear how we're going to operate, so we can be constructive and have a productive meeting. Also be able to let you, to be able to be heard and be respectful. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brittany.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Brittany Molitor, Planning Director. Item number K is Comprehensive Plan Amendment CA 23-05 to amend the comprehensive plan to change the future land use from suburban residential district to urban residential district. This item was continued from the June 20th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting in order for the applicant to be present. Just some history on this property. The request for the amendment was to allow a multifamily building. The proposed lot is currently being platted through the City of Rapid City. The future land use in the area identifies several lots as suburban residential districts. There are proposed and existing multifamily dwellings within 1/2 mile of the subject property. There were several letters of concern opposing the request to rezone this property, and a rezone of this property, 21-26, was approved by the Board of Commissioners on October 5th, 2021. So with that, staff did recommend approval of comprehensive plan amendment CA 23-05. However, the Planning Commission recommended denial of comprehensive plan amendment CA 23-05.
Thank you, Brittany. So this does come to us with a staff recommendation for approval, but with the Planning Commission for denial. So I just want to make that clear. So at this point in time, what I'd like to do is I'm going to go to the speaker request forms. Let me count them first.
There's 13, sir.
13 of them. So we have 13 speaker request forms. And as I had said at the previous meeting, we let the people speak at that point in time too, and plus with all our emails. So that's why I'm going to go to the 2-minute rule, just so you're aware of that. And I will keep time, and I'll do like I did at the last meeting to be respectful. I'll put my finger up when you get to 30 seconds. So that's what I will do. Let me go to first speaker request form I have is from Linda. And then sometimes I can't read all these. I got 2 Lindas. Cohere or Core?
Carter.
Is it Carter?
Yes.
Okay, couldn't tell. And Linda, you did hand out some paperwork earlier, so.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
My name is Linda Carter. My husband and I reside on Black Powder Road. I would like to point out that, like the previous time this came up in October, the planning committee did deny this at the June 12th meeting, and we are hoping that you would go ahead with that recommendation. Reviewing the meeting from October 5th, 2021, that was 5 days after we moved in, several points were made, including a request or including a commitment by Mr. Skull himself brought up that he would be in communication with the community within 2 months. Today is month 21. We have not had any kind of communication regarding this. The report that was filed talks about
existing and proposed multifamily dwellings within a half-a-mile radius. The 80-unit apartments that are on the corner of Longview and Reservoir are no longer going forward. The fourplexes that were proposed have been denied with prejudice. I am not aware of any other single or multifamily dwellings. There is another apartment complex a little bit north on Reservoir, but that is not within the Murphy Ranch community. The Murphy Ranch community is specifically single-family homes. One of the other concerns that was brought up at the October meeting in 21 was, the values. The Census Department released in 22 that the average family dwelling in Rapid City is $208,000. We bought our house in 2021 for $354,000. The house, 2 houses behind us, is up for sale right now at $449,000, which is considerably twice the average median in Rapid City. So I have so much more to go, but I think the primary thing is we would like this to be single-family dwellings as was plotted out. And Murphy Ranch specifically is not multifamily.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Linda. And we do get the information the commissioners sent in.
and I believe you got the email that I sent
Yeah,
to with
we also
many
got
other
the
things.
emails.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Next, I have, and I think I remember seeing this email too, Brett Whitmore. And I'll just remind everybody, when you come forward, just please reckon, you need to identify yourself for the record, and I'll start after you do that. Thank you.
Brett Whitmore, 3325 Remington Road. Honorable Commissioners, you have the power to help or to harm, the power to enrich one corporation or to safeguard the quality of life for 200 working-class families in 2 long-standing neighborhoods. The power to prevent careless overdevelopment never intended for that swale, or to forever impose the offensive greed of others upon responsible citizens, veterans, and retirees without our consent. You have the power to protect our future and uphold our saner rural values. We moved out there for peace of mind, to escape the urban rat race, not have it invade our backyards. Respectfully, I believe your 5 October 2021 rezone vote was underinformed. It rested on a condition that the developer inform us of his intentions within 2 months. It will be 2 years in October, and he has yet to meet with us residents as one body. He repeatedly evaded your requests to commit that his plans are in keeping with our existing homes, to improve access and egress that will not further burden our already strained streets, and to resolve the hazardous drainage issues. I implore this commission to deny amending CA 23-05 to the comprehensive plan specifically because so many serious issues remain unresolved. Remand it to the planners and we'll hash it out there. But this matter would cease to haunt us all if you would exercise your power to correct this error rather than perpetuate it. I respectfully ask this commission even to rescind the ill-advised RZ 2126 rezoning decision. Maybe then we all might rest peacefully again.
Thank you, Brett. You did very well. Roberta Hook.
I'm not Robert this time.
I did that last time, didn't I?
Yep.
I did.
Hi, I'm Roberta Hook. I'm at 3642 Black Powder Road. Yesterday, I sent in an email with some pictures as well as a video of what I will just call moisture, rain is what I'm going to call it. But what I'm talking about is Monday I was looking at the documents that Pink Cabin had submitted, and I saw that they had the drains on 36 right across the street from me on Black Powder, showing a nice pretty picture of 3 drains. Well, there's actually 4, and the 4th one is clogged. And the second one is typically clogged as well. But if you go past those drains, you will see where There were blocks that were put in that were supposed to help stop the erosion and to keep things, so that it wouldn't erode the ground and the soil. And if you look, it has. If I had a drone, it would do a far better picture than what I was trying to get yesterday. But I went, that's already there from the little bit of rain that we've had. And the video that I submitted was the last rainfall that we had. And I don't want to hear from the builder that it was unusually a heavy rainstorm, anything else. It rained for less than 10 minutes. So that is the rain, and that's how it comes and hits the front of the street in front of me. And typically, it actually doesn't even go down through the drains. It rolls over the sidewalk and goes. And I just keep thinking, if it's this way now, what's it going to be like if we put in a ton more cement where there isn't going to be any place for that rainwater to go, except for those drainage ditches, that when that water's running, I'm sorry, it takes me all the way back to 1972 and the flood. I'll be very honest with you. So I ask, please think about the residents of Murphy Ranch and don't let this go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Next, I have Annette Matt. Is it Matt or Malt? Can't tell what's two T's or an L and a T.
Pardon?
Is it
My
Matt or
name-
Malt?
Yeah.
Matt?
Matt.
Okay.
M-A-T-T.
Okay, thank you, Annette.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My name is Annette Matt. I live at 3380 Colvin Street. That has been my residence since 1979. So I have lived there when the Murphy Ranch was a ranch with cattle and hay and everything. Even up until about 5 years ago, they were still mowing this 6 acres that's in question because it was just, and we had cattle running on it. So I want to go back a little bit. When we first moved there, to the north of Longview, the Fergusons had a dam. So I'm going back to the fact that that whole area has been a watershed. The Fergusons had a dam to the north of Longview. To the south of Longview, the Murphys had a dam. And then, for some reason, the Rapid Valley Water Department decided that a drainage ditch would do a better job. But the drainage ditch doesn't take into account that it's a watershed. So we just have water running on the ground. And like the last lady said, the rain that we had last week, that whole field was just nothing but pockets of water every place. And I know they want to change it. They want to change this land from suburban to urban to add extra buildings. When Steve Murphy and his mother originally sold that land, their intention was to make it all single-family dwelling. I even seen his schematics where they had 10 houses in that 6-acre unit called a cul-de-sac. So I just want to let you know that it's not good to put apartments or fourplexes in the middle of residential district, especially us that have been established for over 40 years. I beg you, please deny the application.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you for the history on that. Next, we have Donna Patterson.
My name is Donna Patterson. I live at 3468 Knuckle Duster Road. The drainage area along Black Powder there has been doing that for, I know last year those blocks were starting to fall away too, and it was starting to erode. So it hasn't just been this year, it's been for quite some time. So that was defective when they put it in to begin with. But my main concern is if they were to put a 72-unit apartment complex in there, where are all those people going to park? And once they pave that area, where is the water going to soak into? It's just going to have to flow away. With 72 units, there's going to be at least 2 cars for every unit because nobody, there's very rarely just one person that's going to live in those units. So another thing to think about is the parking problem. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. Next, we have Cindy Whitmore. And I want to thank you guys. You guys have been very good at keeping on the time.
Morning, Commissioners.
Thanks, Cindy.
Cindy Whitmore, 3325 Remington Road, 18-year resident of Murphy Ranch. I continue to object to any multifamily dwellings or apartments being added to Murphy Ranch. First, we have a 20-year historical precedent of single-family home development. Starting in 2002, Davis Engineering for Murphy Brothers LLC communicated to neighbors in the area their intent to have single-family homes in the Murphy Ranch Estates subdivision. As recently as 2020, Davis Engineering submitted 3 planning documents to the city, which all happen to show the specific section of property with a cul-de-sac, and single-family home lots. At the October 5th, 2021 Board of Commissioners meeting, Andrew Skull had 2 maps from KTM Design Solutions, which he put up on the screen. Both maps show the property in question with a proposed cul-de-sac and 10 single-family home lots. The second map he referred to as the master plan layout, which also had a timeline note of fall of 2023 on the property in question. It led me to believe that Pink Cabin would continue the single-family home development, that Murphy Ranch has maintained for over 20 years. Very sorry. Next, we only have 2 ingress-egress roads for the area west of the drainage and north of Murphy Ditch. By my estimate, this area will soon have approximately 215 homes, which means more than 430 vehicles already using these roads. Our streets are narrow, there are settlement problems, snow removal issues, and emergency vehicle access concerns. And the drainage problem, 2 recent storms have put the improvements to the test. In my opinion, they simply don't keep up with the rain. Also of note, Planning Director Brittany Molitor was asked at the 12 June Planning Commission meeting if there had been a drainage study done for Rapid Valley. She confirmed that there had not been a study east of Reservoir Road where we are. This is a concern for us residents and should be a concern for the developer. I apologize for my emotions. Thank you.
No, thank you, Cindy. Next, I have Charles Hook.
I'd like to defer my time to Linda Carter.
Linda, did you want to finish up something you want?
I do.
Is there anybody else that would like to defer their time to Linda Carter? So we got 2, 3. Okay. Now what I need to do is pull your names, or just let me know when it comes, when I call your name that you deferred, okay?
Is it still too late to fill one of those out?
No, you can fill one out. So Linda, so far I've got 4 people. You don't need that? Okay. I'll let you finish up.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys giving her your time so she could speak on your behalf.
We feel it's just important you realize this is so important to our neighborhood, and so many people want to have their own say. The paper that I gave you earlier today is from the Rapid Valley Sanitary District, showing that there will be 90 condominiums going in, approximately 90. We have not had any kind of clear communication. We have heard that there will be 4plexes, 4plex, 8plex, 16plex, 72-unit building. Now the 90, proposed 90 condos. We don't know what's going on. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Skull had offered at the October meeting, within 2 months, he would meet with residents to clarify and just to make sure communication was going. We have no idea what is going on, and that's a huge concern. As I mentioned also, Murphy Ranch is single family. Outside of our development is not. There is at least one apartment, but we are single family and we would really like to keep it that way. It's unique to us. A lot of us have moved there specifically to get away from urban apartments, multiplex buildings and things like that. At the October meeting, Mr. Skull had made mention that he would have to, if he would have 10 homes, he would have to short plot them. I'm not sure what all of these terms mean, but what he's proposing, should he do fourplexes, that's 14 units instead of 10 homes. If he does 8plexes, that's 9. If he does 16plexes, that's 4.5. If 10 short plotted homes can't fit there, I don't understand how he can even begin to propose more units than that to replace that. We have a serious, well, we don't right now, but with traffic going in and out, if they do have 72 units there, regardless of how it is, that's a minimum of 72 more cars, even if there's just, if there's just one space per vehicle, which is going to increase street parking because most units are going to have anywhere between 2 to 3 cars, not just one. I don't know where they're going to park. It's going to take up so much street space, and already as people park in the street, it's a chore trying to navigate around that. My daughter almost hit some kids that ran into the street because there were cars parked on both sides, and this child just ran out, and you can't see because of the street parking. We also have a lot of water issues, drainage issues that have been addressed. I sent you pictures of how things were. The pictures that I sent you were all taken after the rain was done, over a period of time. The drainages, the drain access is getting just covered with debris, as my neighbor Bobby had told you, and they're not being maintained. It's just going to be more and more of a headache dealing with anything like that. I think that's all that I have, and I thank you so much for this time to speak. My dad and his family came from Hungary, escaping communism, where they were not allowed to speak, so it's been a privilege to be able to address each of you. And again, we respectfully ask that you honor the planning recommendation of denying this.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
And for those that deferred their time to Linda, are you satisfied with what Linda presented?
Can I just add one thing?
You're not in order yet, but if you got something to say, I got your speaker request form.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was speaking. I was hoping he would speak. He has a lot. He did want me to mention that.
You've got plenty of time. If you still
Okay.
want to speak, I'll put you back in the list.
I'm good. I think Linda's covered everything that I
Except,
wanted to bring
yeah.
up, and I just was mentioning.
Yeah, we do
Okay.
have both a petition that
Yes.
two of the gentlemen
Yeah.
went around, and I believe that has
50.
It does.
58 names
Yeah.
right now. We also have an online petition that has around 100, showing that this is pretty unanimous throughout the entire community.
And I'll clarify that. I clarified it at the beginning of the meeting. We've gotten all the emails, and they've been printed out and put into our packets. We've gotten them on top of the emails that you've given us and the petition. So we've got that in our handout. So
Thank you.
thank you, Linda. So Charles, you're okay? Okay. Next I have Christine Moore.
My name is Christine Moore. My address is 5096 Weatherby Loop. I'm within the Murphy Ranch area. And I just wanted to quickly talk about the traffic. Our apartments, according to the U.S. Census Bureau of 2021, 85% of our renters have kids. and that's across the board. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same here. And if that's the case, we're going to have a lot more children coming in with the apartments. There will need to be at least 2 car spaces per apartment, and if there's teens, you're going to need more. So we are going to have a definite problem with parking. It's already jamming up the streets, as you've heard, and this is just going to make it worse. When you're looking at Omaha Street 44, where the apartment complexes supposedly are going to go out, I guarantee you the majority of those people will not go out on that 60-mile-an-hour road. They will come back through our subdivision to come out Longview Road. That's how I do it. That's how I would do it. So it's going to be another problem for our subdivision, bringing all those extra cars through our housing. And just to give you a quick, the school system, parents drive their kids to and from school all the time. And I made the mistake, being a new resident, I've only been there a year and a half, I made a mistake coming through this subdivision towards Twilight. Anyway, could not go for 10 solid minutes, sat there trying to make a left-hand turn. All these cars trying to take their kids to the school system. It was insane. I had to make a right-hand turn and go down to Longview Road and back out to Omaha, I'm sorry, down Twilight, back out to Omaha, just to come back down Longview, just to go home. I could not make a left-hand turn. It was crazy. Can you imagine that many more cars coming through? You're going to have a lot of problems. And then there's the freeway. Just to get to the freeway, the most direct route is not to go down 44, loop around to Elkville and come down. No, you're going to come out through our subdivision, go down Longview, go down Reservoir, go down Elk, just to get out to the freeway. That's the most direct route. So I'm just saying you're going to have a lot more traffic problems.
Thank you, Christine. Those that deferred their time, as I come to your name, just raise your hand, please. Gloria, Ben?
My name is Gloria Ben. I've been in Murphy Ranch residence since 2006. I'd like to echo everything that my co-workers, my co-residents have said, but I'd also like to say that even though there's only a few of us here, we are coming with a lot of people behind us. My husband's a police officer and can't get the time off to come here, but we as a community want you to know what's going on, and we represent a large number of people. So please deny this, because I think that we've been lied to by the builder, and I'd really like your denial. Thank you.
Thanks, Gloria. June Evans? Okay, thanks, June. Lisa Hayward?
Linda.
Oh, Linda. I told you I didn't bring my readers today.
Linda Hayward, 7860 Longview Road, down the road from Murphy. I'm going to read a short letter here. This is from my husband. He was unable to be here today, so I'm going to put his words out there. At the June 12th, 2023 Pennington County Planning Commission meeting, Andy Scull of Pink Cabin LLC stated that he didn't know what they planned to build on this acreage that they are requesting to be changed from suburban to urban. However, it's interesting that if you look at the project plan 21PL034 submitted to Rapid City Planning on January 18th, 2022, slide number 4. At the top of the map shows 3 buildings and a multitude of parking spaces around those buildings, suggesting that those buildings would be multifamily, multi-story units. Note that it also has Springfield Extension written on it. According to the April 2023 Rapid Valley Sanitation District meeting minutes and the Springfield Extension project, KTM Design is working on plans for multi-family units to the east of Colvin Street, which pretty much lines up with the property that is subject to this comprehensive amendment proposal. Additionally, in the Rapid Valley Sanitary District May 2023 minutes, they speak of those 2 names as one. Also, Mr. Skull has stated at past meetings such as the October 5th, 21 meeting that he would build in Murphy Ranch comparable to existing area housing, such that it matched the overall feeling of the neighborhood and not degrade the area. In fact, he spoke about that twice, once at the 2-hour 37-minute timestamp and again at the 2-hour 43-minute timestamp. In conclusion, I don't understand how a vote to approve this proposal can be done in light of Mr. Skull's statements and the Planning Commission unanimously denying it at their June 20th, 2023 meeting.
Thank you, Linda. Dan Mullally?
Am I going to be able to play the video? Okay.
That's part of your time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, my name is Dan Mullally. I live at 6390 Longview Road in Rapid Valley, and I'd like to take more of a 35,000-foot view of this picture. Over the years, there have been uncontrolled growth in Rapid Valley causing serious problems with stormwater runoff. And the immediate example is Memorial Day. I'm going to play a short video that I was given by a resident there, and Alan Bueller at 1613 Reservoir Road.
Okay, here's what the back of my yard looks like right now. Got my own Bueller waterfall there. And then it's...
And that guy in the White House is getting flooded out right now too.
Place.
But to keep it short,
So, we got a lot of water.
he and his neighbors say this happens about 5 to 6 times per year. The county tells them these are normal events. Well, he said it didn't happen when he moved in, but when the county redid Reservoir Road, they basically routed the runoff into his backyard. And we inspected this area. There is no egress for this water. It eventually works its way out, goes down the street. So I want to point out what happens upstream is going to affect downstream. Another problem has been the Hawthorne irrigation ditch, which is being used improperly for stormwater runoff. And we can show you at least one location on Albert where the developer deliberately routed runoff from the street to the ditch. And the problem is these ditches are not designed for stormwater runoff, and they connect various drainage basins. So they affect everything from the fairgrounds all the way out to where we're at on Longview Road. So in summary, I think we need to slow down these developments. We create these impervious surfaces with no solutions, and it's kind of a whack-a-mole game. We fix one problem, another pops up. So I suggest a moratorium, and we need a comprehensive study with the county and the city on drainage in the valley and all the different drainage basins, and this has not been done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And Dan, I did stop yours while you were getting the videos set up, so that's...
Oh, well, thank you.
And you still went 26 seconds over, but you did good. Thank you, Dan. You did fine. Lacey Murphy.
Good morning. I'm Lacey Murphy at 3507 Black Powder Road. My husband and I moved into our new home last May. We've been from Rapid, and we moved out to the valley because of the community we knew we were moving into was all single family, and being on the backyard of Black Powder, a 72 unit, a fourplex, anything really above a normal single family home would ruin our view, probably cause light pollution, noise pollution, crime pollution within our home and within our community. One other thing I'd like to say is my husband's a local engineer, and what we really have an issue with where they want to place the multifamily dwellings in that 6-acre aspect is where else in Rapid is multifamily closed within single family dwellings. So if we could, even if Not that we want anywhere in Murphy Ranch to have multifamily, or prefer if we could keep them outside and not within single family on both sides. And there's no exit roadway. There's only one exit roadway for that 6 acre lot as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Lacey. That's it for speaker request forms. Thank you guys for being respectful and timely. Next, what I'll do is go to the applicant or the applicant's agent.
Good morning or afternoon, County Commissioners. Andrew Skull, Peak Cabin LLC. Number one, here to answer any questions that you all may have. I do have a few things that we can address. I think a lot of this has been addressed and readdressed and readdressed. I do want to thank Commissioner Lassiter as well as Commissioner Deb Hadcock with meeting with me Monday on site to review the overall development and to discuss a few things. Mr. Mullally brings up some great points about Reservoir Road and the Hawthorne Ditch, but we are not the Hawthorne Ditch and we are not Reservoir Road. In our packet, which we've included, which has been, there was a study done in 2016. I don't know if it's commissioned by the county or the city of Rapid City, but it was completed by FMG, which specifically was a study on the drainage in this area. At that time, the existing drainage ditch that flowed through Murphy Ranch was under design, not the capacity to meet a 100-year storm event. The 100-year storm event is now the standard for all engineering. When that work was done, KTM was then commissioned by us to complete that study. And I'm not quite sure if I'm looking at the right stuff here. Brandon, you want to help me find this, please? What do you want? I want the study, the cross sections. So from the FMG specific to this within Murphy Ranch and us as a developer, we've actually taken on the challenge of dealing with everybody else's water that's upstream of us. So specifically, we've increased from a 60-foot right-of-way to an 80-foot right-of-way. We doubled the capacity of the ditch and allowed for a 100-year event plus an additional 1.5 foot of freeboard. So that what freeboard means is the water beyond the capacity on a 100-year event. The red line shows you how that existing ditch was actually constructed and built. The black line shows you now how it is. So if you just were to take station 8+00, you can see all of this area would be additional capacity that's been added to that. Now, I do understand that there's been pictures and photos taken. My engineering mind says, wow, that's beautiful. The ditch is working exactly how it's supposed to. And on the Memorial Day storm, there was about 1.5 foot to 2 foot of water in there that can be shown by the high water mark. How do I get to the overall packet so I can click through these a little bit more effectively? So I guess I just addressing the drainage, as part of the original, the existing, what we call phase 10 of Murphy Estates. There is 3 based on the same drainage report. Yeah, maybe this helps right here. So this shows where all of the drainage collection points are. Currently, there's one here on the east side, very large drainage area. This is the detention cell that maybe was referenced earlier. I think there's actually 4 sidewalk bridges, we call that, allow that form into there. This is actually owned and maintained by the road district now. Part of the future development, you can see area in pink. This is where new drainage detention and retention facilities will be allocated, and part of that, whatever gets built here will also require its own storage capacity, and then the existing ditch goes through here. So I guess I'd like to, and another thing that I did hear from some of the constituents is correct. There is illegal dumping of people's drainage into the Murphy ditch, into the Hawthorne ditch. That's not made for people's drainage. There's also illegal pumping of somebody else's water out of the Murphy ditch that shouldn't be happening as well. People own that water and it's not the neighbors. One thing I'll also bring up, you'll see specific to the Murphy ditch, you can see its existing alignment. As part of future development at the request of the Murphy Ditch Company, that ditch is actually going to be lined. When I say lined, this water is going to be put into a concrete pipe and buried underneath ground. Some of that Murphy ditch does create quite a bit of leakage, and that was at the request of the Murphy ditch to minimize the potential leakage of the future. So any specific, trying to work through this in an orderly fashion, any specific questions, comments regarding drainage that you would like me to answer?
I'll go to the commission.
Chairman,
Ms. Hadcock.
not really any questions. Just a statement. Number one, I went with 3 different groups. First one was our engineers, our highway department with Jason, our planner, and then Travis. Second one was with some of the residents out there that showed me not only most of Rapid Valley, which I have done before with Brittany and some with Joe on other occasions, and then also some Rapid City stuff, which I knew before, which Rapid City needs to correct some of their areas, I understand. And then with you and Brandon, and for me, number one, and it was said, that concrete pipe that's put behind on Black Powder, the houses that were built there, that at the time was one of my issues with what was happening, people dumping into that, and what your development was going to be doing at that time, and that corrected that, one of those issues because of the swales and stuff. Also, the field that I always said, holy cow, and I had talked to you, Brandon, about that. That field was always flooded with those cows and everything in there every year. Or when they started building those houses, I was watching. I was like, you got to be kidding! You're going to build something in the swampland. Well, then come to find out, the Murphys used to dig out Murphy's ditch a little bit and then let that water run in that field. So that's why it always looked like a swampland, and that's why it always had that extra flooding in there that I always saw, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. So some of that was corrected by information and talking to many different people, including the developer. The other thing is with the traffic on these issues, there's going to be 2 inlet outlets on this development, which to me makes a huge difference, which I didn't know. There's one's going to have an inlet outlet, and the other one's going to, with a turning lanes, if I'm correct, and the other one's going to stay about the same, but it's going to be widened, of course. That lets 2 other areas in that area, Murphy's Ranch, all the way up, have a different way towards 44 instead of Reservoir and Longview. That, I believe, to me, helps the infrastructure of the roads. There's also going to be some, if I'm water and sewer, so this is just not drainage, water and sewer over on that area in the black. Is that sewer line, or just, do they already have water in the black area where the multiplexes are supposed to be?
So when you, yes, I will answer that question. You brought up something that I think I wanted to mention on touch base before I forget, Commissioner Adcock. This portion of the property roughly was previously owned, not by the Murphys, but by a different person. And what was happening is that they would, at their free will, decide to flood irrigate off of the Murphy ditch, which was collating a lot of that runoff issue. So another thing, I guess, to mention through the development process is when you're in Rapid Valley, a lot of places of the county, we have an interesting issue here, because what you have is it's within the county planning and zoning. It's within the 3-mile Rapid City jurisdiction, so it goes through Rapid City for platting. And then also Rapid City has to approve all the infrastructure. And then the county staff, as well as Rapid Valley Sanitary District, gets copy of all the information to approve that. So when we talk about the drainage channel and that construction, that was actually designed by the engineers, approved by the city of Rapid City, reviewed by the county, as well as the Rapid Valley Sanitary District. Where I'm going with that is, it's the same thing with the infrastructure. Water and sewer for this development, it would be owned or is owned by Rapid Valley Sanitary District with approval by Rapid City. Because this is platted as one zone, your requirement is to bring water and sewer service to the one platted piece of property. So currently, with the construction of the improvements of the ditch, there's been a sewer service provided as well as a water service provided. Now, what Rapid Valley Sanitary District has requested, this goes back to 20 or 21, and I think within the plat, there's a 20-foot utility easement located along the south and the eastern property lines. That was specifically requested by Rapid Valley, so any future sewer main would actually run within that. And their purpose of doing so would be to be able to provide future gravity-fed sewer for the residents along, Coven, I think is the street right here. So if they so chose, they could always hook onto that. As far as the points of egress, yeah, so the current 2 points of egress here along Longview. I'd also mention that part of our developer's agreement with the city of Rapid City was to widen Longview into 3 lanes, which was and has been completed from the intersection of Reservoir Road till, I think this is Springfield. So that work has already been completed to increase the access and turnability into the development. And then you consult with the engineers and you talk about traffic and traffic studies, and that is also why these 2 different points of ingress and egress have been provided along Highway 44. Current development state is what we call Phase 10A. It's about 40 lots. The whole purpose of the shape of 10A was to provide and complete these 2 points of access to 44 prior to any future development. Next piece that's working on is 10B, which is essentially these cul-de-sacs here, and then the intended purpose is to build up along this section of the street to create that connection and that connectivity before this infill housing here is done so that we can provide those additional accesses to the neighborhood. I think I answered your questions in a multitude of statements there, Commissioner.
Yes, and you're also improving with the black area. There will be gravity-fed sewer, the septics and stuff. I think that's one thing for me is to make sure that people have water and sewer in those areas instead of using drainage areas, which we're finding stormwater is the #1 pollution of our watershed. I'll keep saying that to people over and over again. Anytime you can get water and sewer into areas that have this kind of density, it's huge. #2, on the drainage, get back to the drainage areas. When I did the tour, some of the areas that were shown to me, and I already knew this already. #1, the first tour was, if I could say, Joe's house, Joe Highway from Highway Departments. He had a huge inlet in his backyard, and then if you looked west, everybody changed their drainage in their yards. So there was no drainage coming to his house anymore. So when they built the houses, they changed it because they wanted more flat, they didn't want that swale. Well, that dirt swale, it was put in there, and if you look at some of the areas in Rapid Valley that still have that when they were built, because they didn't take them out because they knew that that swale actually made that water go where it was supposed to. And I did, because I went with Dan and Linda and those guys in those areas, and I said, see, this is what happens when you change it, is it doesn't drain where it's supposed to. It wasn't developer driven, it was builder, or like some of the people in their houses, I noticed they flattened their yards. And then some of them even did, if you look at the new one that's coming in the backyard over by that drainage ditch, I think it's over by, it's not Black Powder, but it's by Springfield. We looked and he actually lowered it way below it. So it's becoming some of this that's happening. A lot of it, what I'm seeing happening is people, when they build their houses, they like how it is, and I'm the same way. I don't want that hump in my yard, or I don't want that swale to come through my yard. But when you're building in areas that are drainage areas, it's huge how that water drains. So a lot of those elevations have been changed in those areas in Murphy's. It has throughout Rapid Valley. So one of them that we talked about was this area. It was further up north, and I knew that already because I was on DeGeese. Back then I represented the city, and all those flat green areas were drainage areas. So I walked that, and people were building stuff in those areas and planting in those areas. And that makes a huge difference because you start changing elevation again. So some of those drainage areas are a lot because people don't want their yard to tilt towards the drainage area. They want it to be flat, and they don't want that coming on their land, but they bought it that way, and that drainage area was for that reason, so everybody else's doesn't get flooded out as well. So the one place we went was over by Reservoir. And it was said that the land was, because of Reservoir Road, some of it was, but the one guy, you could see, the water was coming off, it was going great, it was all flat. Then there was a bunch of trees and bushes that were thick, that were holding the water back. Then there was a white house that you could see that was the one you saw flooded out with the area that was all wet. That drainage was changed immensely, and then that house, you could tell the brick or the new block that was put on that house, my husband was a builder before, it actually held that drainage where it was and flooded that whole area and that situation out. Because if it was flat, you could tell because it was following all the drainage that was up north. That's how they created the drainage areas. So it all fall or flow in a certain area or into the drainage ditches. So some of that I'm finding is not developer, it's builder and people. People wanting their land to have sheds in it, to have different things, but those are drainage areas. Now, did county come and say, Linda, Linda didn't do this. You can't build that shed there, you can't have playground there, you can't change the dirt and the elevation of your backyard, or you can't take that swell out of that dirt because that's the drainage. That's the drainage for all your neighbors that you're flooding out or you're causing issues for. That's why on your streets in your different areas, even in Murphy's Ranch, that swale we were talking about, that dirt swale, if you look at those people's backyard, they were just built on black powder, they took it out. So it's all draining into the Murphy's ditch. It's not even draining where it's supposed to. It's supposed to go into that one area at the end that we keep saying
Retaining
can't
pond.
take enough.
Retention pond.
Retention.
Yeah, can't take enough water into it, and it's not draining because people have changed in those areas where the drainage is supposed to go. So that's why some people you're flooding out and other people are doing just fine. You can see where the water is coming out and it's going down into the ditch from people's houses where it's supposed to swell down. It's because the elevation, even on that back end by that ditch, we walked it, me, Travis, and Brandon yesterday. And I said, okay, so this is kind of high and it's good. And then it comes into kind of a lower. Well, they actually, you can tell, hired it, and the one side they're going to make a little bit higher where the multiplex is supposed to be. It's going to be a little bit higher, and then it's supposed to flow into those big gabion. Okay, I got it. Gabion areas. So what I did, and this is what I told people at the planning commission, I said no because I need to go find out the information, what's the facts in the different areas on this. The second part is I still think, Andy, you should have a public meeting so people can understand this a little bit better because some of them are here from there. And Andy said he would talk to the road district and have a meeting because I think if they had an understanding, and that's the main reason I always get mad at developers or people that come in that build that don't let us go see it and explain it directly because I'm an infrastructure person and have been since we started. And some of the drainage was a big issue. And we're finding that a lot of that drainage, what he has corrected, when I walked it with 3 different groups, his drainage is actually taken in and is trying to correct a lot of what's up north. So he's getting and having to do this for his development because he also will flood out his development if he doesn't do it right. So he put the gabions, he put the ditch, and he hired the ditch, meaning Skull. And is actually, if you look at it, and then putting the pipe in, which our highway department didn't know, behind those other houses, which were draining into the ditch with their basements, which it probably wouldn't hurt the ditch if I'm correct, because the basements are not, that's groundwater, it's not, you know, bad water at that time. Long story short, he's putting the traffic in so it doesn't come to Longview. He's putting the drainage in. Didn't understand all the drainage until 3 different people explained it to me. I did to a certain extent. I just figured, you know what, yours is not in capacity. But after going up north, he's went above and beyond. Because up north, you get flat areas, and that's all you get, and you drain into the Hawthorne or the Murphys. And these people are getting stuck. So I go to Dollar Store after I met with Andy and Brennan and Travis yesterday over there, and that water's stagnant sitting there up north or up. That'd be the west of this development. Anybody go by there, it's not flowing right. So Bottom line is, I think in this area, the drainage is fine. The infrastructure for the roads where the ingress egress is going out in the traffic, because it comes right on 44, which is a major arterial, is what you want to do. You don't want to take it all to Longview. The only thing I'm not clear about is what is being built on that 6 acres. Andy, if you could explain that.
Sure.
Are you good? That's a question? Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner, or Chairman, I guess just a couple quick things. This is what the old ditch looked like. This is a pretty similar perspective. And I realize Memorial Day, that was a big storm, and that's scary. Water's scary, right? And you can see where the high water mark has been by the debris. Your 100-year event would be somewhere about where my hand is, and then there's the freeboard. So you can see the difference between the two ditches. I did say in October of 21 that I would have a meeting. I don't know what we're building. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what to talk about with the neighborhood. It could be apartments, it could be townhomes, it could be lots of different things. And I don't want to present something that is not accurate. So the normal development process would be you take a raw piece of land. Typically, you do a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezone simultaneously on the front end of a project. Then you go through a development planning process with some preliminary approval, and then your engineers would design. Somehow we got out of sequence on this with the comprehensive plan amendment. I don't think that's either here or there. It's just what we're here to do today is to clean that up. We do know that we want urban residential. We do know that we feel that this property does work for some form of multifamily. I do know that that requires a conditional use permit, and we will come back to the planning commission and maybe on to the county commissioners for that at that given time. What it can be, though, I don't know. Rapid Valley, I heard today Rapid Valley said 90. I don't know where they got 90. I'm assuming Rapid Valley Sanitary District is saying that the sewer system could support up to 90 dwelling units, is probably what they're saying. From the zoning, it's, I think, 16 units per acre. Previously, that does not fit here. The maximum number would be 72. I don't know that it's going to be 72. It could be 24 townhomes. It could be 64, apartment units and 16 plexes. I understand that they want to know, but I don't have much to share with them, and when we do, we will. And we're also limited by 2-story height by the current planning ordinance and zoning. So it will be 2 stories or less. And then, of course, there's open space requirements with that as well. Once we were to understand what that would be, I would have a neighborhood meeting because we would need to come back in for a conditional use and go through the public process once again. So there's not any big secrets here. Have I had layouts done by KTM to see what would fit? Yeah, I have. But I don't know that that's what we're building. I don't know what the exterior looks like. The intent would be, it would probably, when I say it would look like the neighborhood, I'm saying it's not going to be 4 stories tall and it's going to have vinyl siding, or it's going to, it's going to have residential style products that would be similar to a smaller scale neighborhood rather than a big 140 unit Noah's Ark apartment, an all in one building.
So
that is what I was trying to orientate back in October of 2021.
Andy, tell me the difference between what's multifamily or multiplex? What's the same?
I don't know.
I can't figure it out, because if you're talking about like townhomes and stuff, I've seen townhomes. In fact, there's a bunch in my district. And a lot of those townhomes aren't children driven. They're actually a lot of retirees and different people in the multiplexes, I call them, are townhomes in my district. So I don't see a lot of family orientated people. That's why I said, what's the difference between multifamily?
The issue with this, the dimensions of this property, especially after allocating an additional 20 foot of easement for the drainage ditch, is a very challenging geometry to build almost anything. So you either need to make really small lots, do tiny homes. I don't know that that's necessarily the best use of the land as well. So somewhere down the process, it's going to have to be adjusted because to a lower density or size of lots, just simply due to the width and allowing for the size of a street that publicly creates good access flow and parking. And by the way, in apartments, the code requires 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit. That is what the code is. So if you had 60, you need 90. If you had 100, you need 150.
The bottom line with this is I did talk with planning, and it's going to be hard to do a lot of multiplexes or multifamily units on that piece of ground and still have the area setbacks and things from a drainage area and otherwise to be able to do that. So that's why I was wondering what could actually possibly put in there unless you get a bunch of variances, which at this point would be a lot of work. So bottom line is, guys, I did the research. The only issue I'm having is the 6 acres. It's nice to know it's going to be on there, but I also know when you buy a plot of land, whether it's your own or somebody else's, you don't really know what you're going to put on there. You don't know when you're going to move. You don't know what's going to be on that until you go through planning and you have to figure out on setbacks and everything else. So I understood at that point why you haven't put it out there. But the nice thing is before you do put anything on that land, you have to get a conditional use permit in order to put multifamily and multiplexes, and it has to go through the process again. So I like what I've seen already, except for this area where people are very concerned about. So, and like you said, and I agree, just from having owned buildings and different things, you don't really know what you're going to do until you, number one, your cash flow, and number two, depending on those setbacks and planning, what you think you're going to build and what you can build is two different things based on those setbacks. So.
Okay, thanks, Deb. I'm going to go to the other commissioners. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, give every commissioner an opportunity to ask questions or make comments.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lassiter.
Andy, thanks for going out there with us on Monday and looking at that. You know that Commissioner Hadcock and I have really been looking at a lot of that drainage. And, we have concerns with it, but I do think you're trying to do, and you can see the high water marks. I'm not so concerned as much as I was before about the drainage per se. I think in the area, I'm concerned about drainage, and I think anybody that lives in that area is concerned about the drainage. But what you're doing to fix the problems in that particular area, I think you're doing what needs to be done to start the process of fixing the issues in that particular area. So with that said, the drainage is not such a concern for me at this point in that particular area because of what you're doing to kind of mitigate the leakage from the ditch and to make it wider so that we can move more water. You have heard my concerns, and I'm not comfortable approving anything whenever I see a big black spot in there. Most everything that we approve when we're going to rezone or change comprehensive plan, we have an idea of what's going in there. And I know you said you don't know exactly, but I've seen 3 plans at least that have come across us, and seeing that there's just a big spot that we don't know, I'm less comfortable approving something that can open the door to just, I'm not going to say anything because nothing ever opens the door to anything, but I think to meet the community standards in that area where everybody was thinking that there's going to be at least single-family homes, I can't justify approving at this point in time until we have an idea of what's going on and to include meeting with the community. And I'm willing to be at those meetings too, Andy, if you decide to do that. You've had those in the past, and me and Commissioner Hadcock have been there, so I'm willing to do that again. And that's about all I have to say. I've given you my input on it as well when we were just walking and talking, so.
Thank you, Mr. Lassiter. Mr. Drew.
Chair. So I have not sat down with Andy Skoll and talked about this project at all. I've taken all the information that's come in from residents and looked at the various things that planning has provided to us for information. And obviously, things like this come down to what is financially appropriate. What can you do financially with that size of an acreage? We know that there are some issues with the drainage and so forth. I think the developer has acknowledged those and is addressing those. So quite frankly, I really don't have an issue with this proposal. So, thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Drew. Mike, I do have a question of Brittany. You know, Brittany, in our emails and a lot of the comments that we've had a lot of perceptions of what this is going to be. And I think the residents have justified fears. I mean, they do. I think the drainage has been addressed and issued that it's built above, to standard or above. It's about the same. My question is the planning commission, and a lot of times commissioners and planning commissions have to make decisions, and they make them on more of emotions or feelings than facts and requirements. With this development, has it met all the requirements required of the developer?
Brittany Molitor, Planning Director. In our office, as far as what the requirements are, for multifamily, and I just want to clarify, just so everyone knows, is that if it does get zoned to urban residential, the only use that it would be allowed on that urban residential outside of a single-family residence is one fourplex. So the developer will still have to come through the planning commission to get a conditional use permit for anything more than a fourplex. So as far as not knowing what it's going to be, or this being the final, there's going to be a bunch of apartments there before, that's not the case. He could put one fourplex here on that 6 acres. With it being zoned urban residential, or on the other side of it, they could go down to those smaller 6,000 square foot lot sizes. So those are the two differences really with urban residential versus suburban residential. If he was still suburban residential, he would still have to come in front of the planning commission and get CUPs for the multifamily units.
So thank you for that clarification, because today is to do the rezone, but the conditional use permit, if what he decides to bring back is going to be heard again and would have to be sent out to the residents again also.
Correct.
So
For anything more than a fourplex.
anything more than a fourplex.
Correct.
So I just wanted to have that, some of that clarification.
Mhm.
Okay, folks, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, what I was going to do is we gave staff their time, we gave public comment their time, we gave the applicant their time, and each commissioner got to ask any questions that they had. So at this time, I'd go to the commission and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drew.
I would move to approve comprehensive plan amendment CA 23-05.
I have a motion
Second for discussion.
and a second for discussion. So now I'll go back to the board. Is there any discussion? Ms. Hadcock?
So why I'm saying that is because, again, I've looked at the infrastructure, I looked at the areas. I'm not discounting what you guys said. It's huge. That's why it's not my district, and I tell people it doesn't matter if it's my district. I'm going to go do the information. I did due diligence, not by one group. I did all three, just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. The main thing is to get water and sewer. I think that's a huge thing for cleanup for drainage areas. Again, watershed is huge. Anything that you can do for that in Rapid Valley, it needs to be done. Number two, the traffic, the inlet outlet. The biggest issue, even with Apple Valley, was a lot of the infrastructure. Where this is a little bit different, and in fact, it's a lot different. And then some of the information that I didn't know got clarified. I know a lot of the area for drainage that people have concerns with is a lot more upstream as well, and changing of your drainages. So be put on notice when you're looking at your yards or your neighbors in different areas. Look what I'm talking about, because it makes a huge difference how your yard is draining and where it's supposed to drain and where you're putting that drainage. Number three, it has to go through planning commission before Andy puts anything in that black area, and that's a conditional use permit. And that's where you're going to change their minds, or you're going to make a difference. If he's putting something in there, multiplexes or different multifamilies, that he needs variances and other things, I put him on notice, and Brandon too. They're going to have a hard time passing that through. I'll just tell you. But the other area, I don't have seriously, I think the infrastructure is good. Everything that they've done, they went above and beyond in that area, is good. The only, like I said, the concern was, for me, was that multifamily or multiplex, and that still has another process for which to be either denied or approved. And again, I think your developer's going to have a hard time, so I'll put them on notice for that area, for that sixplex right there, or sixplex, that black area that has the 6 acres. Um, that's the most concern I'm finding about the neighbors and the drainage, and those things are the things I looked up the most. And the drainage, like I said, I also went through this, read this, and had a couple other people, our engineers and stuff, explain this to me about that drainage. And like I said, I walked not just once, but several times in my years as a commissioner through those areas. We need some retention and detention ponds in the Rapid Valley area, and we need to do a study. So those things need to be done. Um, Multiplexes can be very nice. You can look at Enchanted Hills, those areas. They can be very nice, and those areas are well kept. The yards are kept by people, so they're actually more kept up, depending on who buys those in one sense, and the other, like I said, they make them so there's less maintenance in a sense. So depending on what's in there, that's what I said. You still have that voice, and I will be looking at what they're doing in that area. But also, I encourage you to look at the things I looked at, to look at the traffic, look at the infrastructure, look at the things, and see if I'm incorrect, because I went through this 3 times. Not just once to make this decision today to vote for this, and then figure out in that sixplex what, or the sixplex, I keep saying that, 6 acres, what's going to be next. So
Next.
I take what you said not lightly. I did my homework like I said I would do.
Thanks, Deb. Any other commissioner?
Sure.
Mr. Drew.
So overall, I think that, for a lot of the emails that I received said that when they purchased their property, that they were told this was going to remain single-family area forever type thing. It's easy to say when you're either selling property or you're looking at getting out of it, that you own a major piece of property and you say, my vision would be this. But when it comes down to it, it becomes a financial situation where whoever has that property, if it's a developer, they have to look at what's financially going to work for them too. And so things do change. And for anybody to promise somebody that, it's going to remain a particular area, single family, whatever, is just not, they should be chastised for doing those kind of things in different areas. So I don't have an issue, as I said before, with changing this. I have a lot of confidence that as they continue to go through the process of making application for their permits and so forth, that this may look completely different than what I think a lot of the people that have contacted me have indicated they see as their vision. A lot of it is not solid words. I mean, I think people have, not that anybody is generally lying about it, but people have added to it, and it's become something different than what I think the developer is looking at, that the city of Rapid City is looking at, and in their 3-mile limit that Pennington County has been looking at. And so I think until it all shakes out and they're applying for and making application for permits, that's when you're going to see exactly what it's going to be. And I can't believe that it's not going to be a livable area.
Thank you, Mr. Drew. Mr. Laster, any comment before my comment?
Well, my final comment, I'll just kind of reiterate what I said earlier. Most of the time when we have these things come to us, even when they're contentious, there's always been at least some kind of layout, and we'll talk about how can we make it work, or how can we tweak it to make it better, or kind of fit some things. I'm not comfortable voting for something in approval of it with it just being a blank slate there. So I'm going to be a no on it until we have some meetings with the community. so we can see that we're going to have some of that engaging conversation without, just kind of giving a blank slate without understanding exactly what the impacts are.
Thank you, Ms. Dodge. My final comments is first, I want to commend Commissioner Laster and Ms. Hadcock for doing their due diligence and their hard work at meeting not with just one group, but three different groups and really working through this. I mean, they did some outstanding work on that, and so I commend them for that. The other part I'd like to do is I commend the residents out there. You came here today to voice your concerns, and I tried to give you a platform to be, so you could be heard and respected. And the good thing about this, I know we've said there's been no meeting. He's right here. He's heard everything you guys said today. And one of the things that I really think that you guys need to know is, as what Brittany had said, right now this is for the rezone, but in order to do what some of the stuff that's been being said has to come back as a conditional use permit. And I think you've made that very clear of what you want to see in that area today. So I think you have been heard. And I just wanted to thank you guys for being respectful and doing the time for them and taking time out of your day to come here. So with that, as I said, now we do have a motion on the floor. So I'm going to go to roll call vote if there's no more questions or discussion from the commission. Ms.
Just one more
Hadcock.
thing. Bottom line is we did hear what you guys were saying. Everything you said, I know you don't think we did, but we also have to go by rules and regulations that we have as well. By requirements, whether you do your house, whether you do a garage, whether you do a development, anything you do has to be done. So I say, turn that around if that was your house. If you did the requirements, you did the things that you were supposed to do, and the lady next door, the man next door says, no, I wanted that to be this kind of house, or that kind of thing. You can't control that unless you own it. Other than that, we have to follow the rules and regulations based on what is set forth for us. So that's why I'm trying to say that. What we want on something, we have to own it before we get what we want. Like I've been in the city and they we want to keep that a field, or we want to keep that something. It's based on rules and regulations that we have in order to fulfill that, whether it be your garage, your house, or anything else. So we did our due diligence. We really did, trying to figure out the bottom line with this. And for development, on that bottom area, the infrastructure and everything is there, what you're supposed to have. And again, the only area is that black area, and that was a concern of most of you, and your drainage, which I did. I did a due diligence. I went through this. I went through 3 different engineers, same thing. I encourage you in the future, check your house out. See where your drainage is going, and if that was changed. The guy next door he was out there, he's very nice, I forgot his name. He understood because he was looking, he said he was paying attention. His was going where it was supposed to, into the drainage ditch. The 2 beside it, the one I was talking about was lower, and the other one changed their elevation. So some of that is getting flooded out, and some of that water is that, and some of it, Rapid Valley has a high water table. So, again, we did our due diligence. We don't do it because we tried to fool you or do something different on the drainage and different things. I said no, and I made that clear that I would go do my due diligence by you because there's enough concerns to take a closer look. And again, he followed the rules and regulations. At this point, the only thing would be the public meeting, and I still believe he can do that with that black area, because I believe if he does not, I don't think he'll get, that's my opinion, a vote to move that forward in the way he wants to move it forward. So,
Thank you, Ms. Hadcock. With that, I will go to a roll call vote, please.
Hadcock,
aye.
Drews,
Aye.
Lassiter,
No.
LaCroy.
Aye. Motion carries with 3 ayes and 1 no. That brings us to item I.
L.
Oh, L. Sorry.
You like I today.
They do it in lowercase on that one for some reason, so I think it was an I.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brittany Molitor. This item is rezone RZ 23-08 to rezone 0.13 acres from urban residential district to suburban residential district. The reason for this rezone is just during the plating process, there was some realignment based on the meets and bounds description of the urban residential. So they're just asking to rezone this back to suburban residential, so there's not dual zoning on lots. So staff did recommend approval as well as Planning Commission.
Okay.
Motion to move approval?
Second.
Moved by Hadcock, second by Laster for approval. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Any commissioners? Seeing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So I did get an I in there again.
What?
I went to item I. Instead of L.
Did it again? L?
Okay, next, that brings us to item 17. Item 17 is items from commissioners, chair and commissioners, and this is a time for individual members to bring forth any ideas or concerns to the full board. Official action will not be taken on any issue brought forward at this time. Direction may be given to bring items back before the Board of Commissioners. Is there anything that commissioners want discussion or request some information on?
Chairman,
Ms. Hadcock.
I think we ought to look into doing a drainage study just from all the concerns in Rapid Valley. There's some huge issues from up north all the way to this development and even east, that if we can in some way figure out a funding or some help with that, it would be huge, because we do need, and like I said, I walk with Joe and I've walked with other people, Tom back in the day, and we needed back then some retention and detention. I think that's going to help some of this flooding that these people are going through in these areas, and the drainage is going to come down a lot slower if we can retain it or detain it a little bit different. So if we could look into, and maybe I need to look into with Brittany about doing some kind of drainage stuff, since I'm on the Drainage Commission.
How about, good point, Ms. Hadcock. How about we request staff to have a discussion to bring back to the commission, put it on the agenda of possible drainage, how'd you put that?
Drainage study.
Drainage study. To have them have a in-house discussion, and then I'm not going to say next meeting, because I think that's a long conversation, so within 90 days,
Yep, that'd be perfect.
within 90 days.
That way Brittany can do some research or cost, what cost and different
And
stuff.
this is just for them to have their discussion and bring back to the commission either their recommendations or what they see could happen.
Mr. Chair, are we
Mr.
going to
Lassen.
focus this just east of Reservoir Road, or are we looking?
No, I think you should go up north all the way down through Rapid Valley.
I think,
No, I agree, but just east of Reservoir Road, or are we talking
No.
like, we don't want it for the entire county, we just really want it.
No, just Joe, we need some help.
So Holly, Deb, you must have been reading some minds or something, but Holly was just talking about this, trying to put something in the 2024 budget. I'm not sure what we have in our drainage reserves currently. I know we've spent some of it out of the last couple of years just on some equipment to maintain the drainage, the county heights, the unnamed tributary, racetrack draw, the Hawthorne ditch now. I don't know for sure exactly what we have in our drainage reserves for a study of some sort, but there's a possibility that we might have something to get started. Just unsure of the dollar amount. So we might be able to have that at the July 18th meeting.
Ask him something. So as a drainage, so the drainage would start, and there might already be some studies, you guys, from what we've seen before. But then we could figure out where the study needs to start or whatever, because up north, all the way down, it would be in Rapid Valley would be the study. Am I correct?
My suggestion would be probably Reservoir Road going east. That corridor between Reservoir Road and Radar Hill is where we would start. I know Andy mentioned something during his, that they have FMG, I believe, and then KTM kind of spearheaded that. they've started something. I just don't know that we have a finished product. Dave Muck with now Avid for Engineering has started something with the city, I believe, on the unnamed tributary. I believe they've finished something, so there might be an engineering firm out there that has a lot of the information already gathered. We just need to put all the pieces
And
together.
When we walked, sorry, Lloyd, but when we walked some of that, remember when we saw one retention pond and there was a detention pond? It looked like they needed more in those areas, even up. It would be west of Reservoir in areas over by, it started at DeGeest over by the schools and it came through that area. That's where the retention and detention needed some help. That's why I was asking, do we need to, maybe there's already study and we know where to put those?
I believe I
Those?
believe the city of Rapid City completed I want to say Brittany might have to help me, but I think it's the unnamed tributary, because that's all of the city's new development up north of Homestead and west of Reservoir is all in that unnamed tributary drainage. So I think they completed that.
Okay.
It's been a couple years since I've
Good to look
heard
at it.
anybody
See,
talk about that.
I said 90 days because I think that it's a broader discussion. And I think as commissioners, you can talk with Brittany, and there's some other stuff that's in the works, and you can get updated on what's happening and work together to bring something back, because it may be changing some fees, maybe doing some other things that need to come back to us, but I think it's a good idea to give direction, to have those discussions and bring them back.
Travis, do you want to keep track of that and then keep us informed, or you want me to do it? Of what to do out in Rapid Valley since that's your district?
I have no problem following along right along.
That way we can figure out where you want it and where it should be or whatever based on what Brittany and Joe recommend.
Since I'm already engaging with some of the community out in that area for several other things.
Okay. So, we're clear on that? Okay, anything else from commissioners? Otherwise, we'll go to reports, and I'll go from right to left. Ms. Hadcock.
So mine is Planning Commission. You saw most of it was continued except for some Pink Cabin where they, like I said, I voted no. And I did announce that I was going to do more information gathering. So Pennington County Housing Redevelopment, we had some information from the police, how we've changed through putting cameras and lighting up in Curtis and some other areas. We had some litigation with one of the contractors, went through the insurance company. The insurance company actually helped us with it to hold the contractor accountable. Everything else, they're doing very well. They don't have a lot of turnover, which is nice. The project manager does a great job, so Pennington County Housing is doing well with direction of Brian Ochbach as their guy, so.
Okay. I've really got nothing to report on. I had Community Health Board, but got tied up into another meeting and could not attend at that time. The only other thing I would report on is the budget hearings. I think they went well. We did that, and I think we got 2 items that are going to be on the agenda on the 18th. So I just encourage commissioners on those items, if they have information they want, to get with staff, and so we're prepared to look at them again at the next July 18th meeting. Otherwise, with that, I will pass to Mr. Drew.
The Healthcare Trust Board, in the last couple of meetings, the primary discussion has been on making sure that the health policy that we provide for employees, that it's going to be self-sufficient. And so in order to make that work, they did adjust for employees a 3% increase at the beginning of this year as part of their premium. An adjustment also at mid-year on July 1 for another 3%. And then there will be another 3% that will take effect at the beginning of next year is what the plan is. we probably need to make up more than that over a fairly short period of time. I think about 20% is where we're down on that. And so it has to do with, some larger claims. So I think the Healthcare Trust Board is taking it very serious and trying to get it readjusted so that it's working on the right path again. That's all I had.
Thanks, Gary. Travis?
Well, one of the biggest things I did was went to the post-election audit summer study in Pier. It was a good long day having conversation. All of it was based off of what we're supposed to be doing off of Senate Bill 160, dealing with the post-election audit and how it's supposed to look based on that bill. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of conversation. Some of it wasn't necessarily in line as far as what the bill goes. We talked a little bit about the registration form, conversation with DOT and how they're impacting voter registration, some of the bad information that's coming across there, rather than should we just say, even DOT, if you're going to register them to vote, you just need to use the voter registration form. Don't use your stripped down version of it. There were some conversations about including the entire process, but it came back down to focusing what Senate Bill specifically wants, which is a manual count of a percentage of the votes cast. And so even though we talked about other options, digitally are a mix of manual and digital. So we'll see what the outcome of that. They're going to send us an update from all of our notes and everything that we've submitted, and then we'll have another meeting July 20th. So hopefully I'll have some better information as we put together all of our ideas and we form it up.
Very good. And we did, I'll just mention, I might have did that last time, but, we had 2 recounts this year, and both of them came out dead on. Same numbers were exactly the same. I don't know how the school board one went, but the other one.
All 3 of them came out the exact
All
same.
3 of them came out perfect, and the staff did an awesome job up there. And I think, Kara, even on the mayor one, there was 12 people going through ballots?
17.
17, so a lot of eyes on the ballots, and it was good. So,
Mr. Chair,
By that much, it should be-
Cindy and I even talked about that, because I talked about how, even in the past, the recounts that I've been a part of, there was maybe a 6 or 7 vote changed. But all of those that I remember, it wasn't because the vote wasn't done right. It was because the machine didn't pick up the stamp that's on there. It shows that it went through the process it was supposed to, just those were removed out of the count. And, Cindy and I were talking, and she says, yeah, our machines can pick that up now. So it removes one more piece of that human error that may not capture that whenever it's going through the process. And that's probably why we're so much tighter.
yeah, and there was questions, and there was one that were, double stamped because they didn't take the first time, and so they'd seen that and went through. But I just wanted to give kudos that it came out perfect all 3 times, so. With that, I would go to vouchers, approval of the vouchers.
I move to approve the vouchers in the amount of $419,588.03.
Second.
Moved by Drews, seconded by Lassiter. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next, I'd look for a motion to go into executive session per SDCL 1-25-2 for personal issues per SDCL 125-21, and that's what it is.
Second.
Moved by Hancock, seconded by Drews to go into executive session. Any further discussion?
Both,
Seeing none.
sir.
What?
You have
All in
contractual
favor?
and
All in
personnel.
Okay, so included in that motion and second was the contractual pending litigation per SDCL 125-23 with personnel also. Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Bill, will you keep this for me?
I'd look for a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Travis,
Second.
seconded by Drews. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair,
Just for clarification, we do have Ron Roskindek on the phone. So, Mr. Drews.
I would make a motion to approve the new position of Sheriff's Office HR Manager and promote Nikki Farrar to this position effective July 9, 2023 at C43, Step 5, $2,792 biweekly, and further move to update the position listing on file.
Second.
Moved by Drews and seconded by Lassiter. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have to do roll call anymore? Roll call vote anymore? No, that's done with. Okay. Next, I would make a move to approve the creation of a construction manager position of DBM C44 to update the position listing on the file. Further move to place Kevin Burton into the position of step 21, $3,666.40 bi-weekly effective July 9th, 2023.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Ms. Hadcock.
So we moved a project manager into a construction person, or construction, I forgot what you call it,
Construction manager.
construction manager, and we moved him up 14,000. For me, I think Kevin does a good job, but I think it should be lower than that at first, and then see at that point what needs to happen, just because of the circumstances in which that came about. So for me, I'm going to say no, not because Kevin can't do the job, but because of some of the issues, including with that position today.
Thank you, Ms. Deb.
Chair.
Mr. Laster.
I have to concur with that. I believe that it's, Kevin does a good job. We've seen that he does a good job. I'd like to see him continue on, but I'd like to, give him an opportunity to show us that before moving all the way up.
Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Drews.
So I think that, in my opinion, that it's critical of keeping Kevin in a position that is doing the county a lot of good. He has really forged, I think, that position into a better position and deserves the adjustment in pay toward the 95,000. So I'm going to support this.
Thank you, Mr. Drews. Ron, you have any comments before we go to vote?
I'm just going to echo Gary's sentiment, and I'm going to support the motion.
Okay, at this point in time, I'd go to a vote and I'd do a roll call vote. Joan?
Hadcock,
No.
Roskinick,
Yay.
LaCroix,
Aye.
Drews,
Aye.
Lassiter.
No.
Motion carries 3-2. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Lassiter,
Second.
second by Drews. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.